Uh, this is the parallel session on the parallel thematic session on this Akhil Bharatiya Shikshak Samagam and the session number 6. We are delighted here on this momentous occasion, which marks the third anniversary of the National Education Policy 2020. And this is a landmark milestone in the history of the Indian education. On this auspicious occasion, we are here to commemorate the transformative vision and the path-breaking reforms that NEP 2020 has brought forth to revolutionize the education system of the country. And this policy, as all of us know very well, has aimed to create an inclusive, equitable and forward-looking education system that empowers our youth to thrive in the 21st century and beyond. And it's a testament of the government's unwavering commitment to building a knowledge-driven society that fosters creativity, critical thinking, and holistic development. Well, NEP 2020 is path-breaking because it is reimagining the entire education in many ways. And of course, it talks a lot about the teacher empowerment. And since teacher empowerment has been the cornerstone of the National Education Policy 2020, that recognizes pivotal role of educators in shaping young minds. And it is in this respect that we need to empower various institutions, institutions and the teachers, and hence the theme of the session, empowering the institution and strengthening the academic linkages through SCERTs and DIETs, which are leading institutions in the state, instrumental in imparting education and trying to bring quality in education. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my proud privilege to moderate this session and welcome the chairperson of the session. They have already taken the seat. They were very punctual. They came before time. Many of them, I don't know whether they have skipped the lunch or not, or they had the lunch. But I welcome all of you and the chairperson, Shri Kullerji.
I'm here, cut it out.
But I have to speak about you, sir. It's my privilege to introduce the esteemed chairperson of the session, Mr. Rajesh Kullar, presently Additional Chief Secretary Revenue, Public Relations and School Education, Government of Haryana, and a highly accomplished Indian diplomat who has also served as Executive Director of the World Bank Group, representing India, Bangladesh, Bhutan and Sri Lanka. With an illustrious career spanning in multiple sectors, Mr. Kullar has made significant contributions to the field of governance, finance and international development. His exceptional work as Executive Director of World Bank and in various sectors in the Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance, in public-private partnership, in land monetization policy, has earned him recognition and multiple accolades, including the Award of Excellence under the Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission for his role in creating India's first safety umbrella and his efforts in developing the Aravalli Biodiversity Park, Gurgaon, has also led to his designation as India's first other effective conservation measure site. With an impressive background, 2 lines, sir, including degrees from institutions such as IIT and Harvard Kennedy School, he brings in a wealth of knowledge and expertise to table and multilingual abilities including Hindi, Punjabi, English and Japanese. I welcome you, ladies and gentlemen. Please join your hands together to welcome Sri Rajesh Kullar.
Thank you, Professor Sharad. I don't know. We have this session and there is a plan laid out 30 minutes are gone. We are left with 1 hour now. I have come fully unprepared to speak here, which means I can go on for 2-3 hours because I've not come prepared. And what we are supposed to achieve in this session is already cast in ink here on this paper. Those of you who have not read it, let me just summarize. The expected outcomes of this session are 6. And one is we will suggest ways to empower SCERTs and DIETs to perform instrumental role for providing quality school and teacher education. फिर दूसरा, how many of you are uncomfortable if I begin speaking in Hindi? 1, 2. I'll take care of you guys, don't worry. Don't worry. Even when I'm speaking in Hindi, if you keep looking at me, you'll not miss anything. So there are 5 more. How to make them competent to conduct research and survey and action research and so on. And also how to empower academic, functional, administrative and financial aspects of linkages among all levels of institutions. How to suggest ways to build capacity to develop curriculum, syllabi, textbooks. And then finally, how to support implementation of vocational education, adult education, ICT education, inclusive education and other emerging concerns in NEP 2020. So these are the 6 things we are all supposed to do. We are in very safe hands. There's so much to be done, in all these respects, and we have some very worthy panelists here. We have to share these 60 minutes between us. I have only 3 things to say as to how we can conduct ourselves in the best possible way, stick to the time limit, yet do something we will all be proud of. Okay, there we go. The best way to do it is in the nature of what Shvetro Upanishad teaches us. So here I switch over to Sanskrit, how to do it. And I'll be very happy if somebody else will translate it in English for our friends who will become uncomfortable. I know many of us will become uncomfortable when I speak in Sanskrit, but there's no way. I have to recite it in Sanskrit. It's written in that. So it says, Om Sahno Sahno Bhunaktu Sahviryam Karvavahi Tejasvina Avadhitamastu. I'm stopping here. I know you will never have jealousy with me. so I'm not saying Ma Vidvishamahi. So we want this Tejasvina Avadhitamastu. We want this subject to be illumined, to be illuminated, to really come to light, the one that we are going to engage in. And how to do that? Sahviryam karva vahi. You and I, and all of us, 2 of us, all of us, are going to work hard on it. Sahviryam karva vahi. And that's the way it's supposed to go in the classroom anyways. If anyone were to need a motto for what should happen in a classroom, no matter the language, no matter the grade, what should happen is this, that whatever is the subject being studied, the teacher and the pupil, they need to सहवीर्यम करवा वही, उन दोनों को मिलके मेहनत करनी है उसको. And then it, the subject will come to light. So all this that we have, the DIETs, the SCERTs, the other academic linkages, BRC, ARC, at the end is for the teacher to be able to make in the classroom every day, every lesson come to light by the Sahaviryam spirit. So that's why I am requesting you to invoke that spirit now for the rest of the session, so that we can develop an understanding of ये 6 काम कैसे हो जाएंगे अगले 60 मिनट में. But I will add 2 additional constraints. One that I thought of as soon as I shook hands with Dr. Rabin here, and it struck me. I was just reading this expected outcomes. He comes on, we say hello, and he talks about himself, and in 30 seconds he said something. That something came to my mind which I want to underscore here, which is constraint number 1, not only for this session, but for all sessions and for the entire policy implementation in the next 5 years or whatever. Here it is. How many of you have read physics at some stage in college? Dr. Rabin is a PhD in physics, by the way, so a big hand for him. So that's why I'm asking you. Yes, how many of you have read physics? Oh, wow, this dipstick tells me a lot. So many people with physics here, wonderful. So you would all know who we are talking about if I were to name Richard P. Feynman. Okay, आप लोग तो, those who have studied physics, some of them certainly know about Richard P. Feynman. How many of you have happened to see his book? No. Can somebody say something about Richard P. Feynman? Any one of you, those who have read physics, anybody could say anything about him? Yes, I'll be very happy. 100 rupees, anything. कुछ भी बोल दीजिए. And this lot, he wrote his autobiography called Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman. Yeah. Please, one hand goes up. Give him a mic, yeah. Or if you could be loud enough. Yeah, बोलिए ना.
Yeah, so he was a, hi, Girish here. So he was a quantum physicist and he was very well known as a wonderful lecturer. So more than the subject itself, he's really known for being a wonderful tutor and lecturer.
Absolutely, thank you. He was perhaps the finest teacher world has seen. And the guy was so good, he got a Nobel Prize in physics. He was never proud of it. His proudest thing was he got the Oersted Teacher Award 1972. He had won the Nobel and he decided that I'll go and teach, undergrad students straight into the college after 12th. First year, second year, third year, fourth year. And he said, I do not care who the student is. So which means first year, second year, third year, fourth year students of history could come and sit in his class. He would treat them all at the same level, and his lectures would begin with basics of physics. He went on to do it for 4 years. 4 साल. जिस दिन आपको नोबेल प्राइज मिल गया, it will be infra-dig. अभी PhD जाके नहीं पढ़ाता है, कॉलेज के बच्चे को. बिग हैंड फॉर हिम. ये PhD करके एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन की किताब लिख रहे. Anybody who has an MPhil degree, he thinks, why should I go and teach 6th grader? I'm not a TGT. Anybody who wins a Nobel Prize, he stops talking to guides of PhDs. He stops talking to postdocs. He said, what? I have the Nobel. This guy says he loved teaching so much, he said, I'll go to undergrads and teach them directly. So everything he taught
those 4 years, from basics of mechanics till, quantum dynamics or whatever, everything covered, came out in the form of textbooks, printed. Now, if you have not read those, because only the brightest kids really try and waste their time there, is most hilarious way of teaching physics. So engaging, such great fun. He was a great prankster. His biggest ability was to decode lock numbers, secret lock numbers. वो सबका ताला तोड़ देता था और कुछ लॉकर में निकाल के तमाशा करता रहता था, right from his childhood. Even after he got his Nobel, he was up to it. All the time playing games with people, and he loved it in a fun way. Why am I recalling him? Because I wanted to state a constraint, which I said is not a constraint for this session, but for all sessions that have been held, will be held over tomorrow also. What? If you read that book, at the end, you will have the introduction, the foreword by the author himself. And he says, he quotes Gibbons, and he says, this experience is very mixed. And he says, I don't think I have done well by my students. And he quotes Gibbons to say, the exact quote is this: the power of instruction is seldom of any efficacy except in those few happy dispositions where it is almost superfluous. This comes from the world's best teacher, the most interested teacher in teaching, 4 years of life given. And he says, instruction is seldom of any efficacy, except in a few lucky cases, but there it is almost superfluous. They would have anyway learned it. This is a huge constraint facing all education systems all the time. Of course, we will never have one teacher, one pupil, ever, for every child. So Sahnau Bhunaktu Sahviryam Karvavahi is not possible. Nobody has the money. But then whatever are the constraints, when the best of teachers says this, then we know we really need to do something. I have a few ideas to guide our future discussion. I just want to request Professor Sharad or whoever wrote the paper for this. You people mentioned in the 6th outcome that the last outcome we expect is that the DIETs and the SCERTs will support implementation of vocational education, adult education, ICT education, inclusive education, and other emerging concerns. Wonderful way of writing, nothing wrong bureaucratically. But I want to underscore one emerging concern, which is, I would be happy if it were to be listed out as not as in the larger bucket of other emerging concerns, but the one is how to handle gifted children. In particular, the twice exceptional students. There is a Prime Minister's innovative learning program, the Dhruv. How do we support DIETs, SCERTs in making sure that there is identification of twice exceptional kids, there is identification of gifted kids, And then they get the support. Beginning tomorrow, with no financial support, with no further recruitments, with no further trainings, with no further, come to think of it, this is a question for panelists, come to think of it, we have no idea how many Ramanujams are in government schools in grade 3 today or 4, who are sitting, who are being taught all that is to be taught under, functional literacy, foundational literacy and numeracy. They are doing subtraction, whatever it is. But how many of them will simply be gone, totally unidentified? I just want, many of us have seen these slides, many often. We are told for every rupee put in foundational literacy and numeracy, you will get so much more in the GDP in 10 years. Those numbers may be all right. But if you miss out even on one Ramanujam in trying to reach everybody, but do not attend to the needs of that kid, there will be a much greater loss to the GDP of the world than these numbers carry. So one is this underscoring that I will like to do as part of my initial remarks before I give the mic over to my co-panelists. Second is just to underscore this, that these 6 recommendations, as we talk about it, these 6 areas that we have decided, let's not try and give ways and methods and ideas and actionable points that will take, in the spirit in which I said for gifted kids, 5 years to do, or 4 years to do, or 3 years to do. Of course we know SCERTs do not have infrastructure. Of course we know 50% posts are vacant. Of course we know DIET does not have a cadre. Of course we know ARC, BRC, they are not getting their training through SCERT. Right? Of course, these are things which in governmental systems by their very nature, they will take whatever time. But no matter what you do, there will always be vacant posts. No matter what you do, there will be, lack of, you could still provide more infrastructure. But whatever is possible to be done tomorrow as new textbooks are being written, not all over the country, but even in one area, or a new teacher training program is being designed, let's also keep focus on what can be done in the very short term. So with that, I give the mic back to Shara. Thank you very much for your patience. I had already warned you, I have not come prepared, so I overshot the 5 minutes that were allocated to me. But if you do have the patience and the interest continues, we are willing to extend the session to whatever, 5:30 for those who are interested. But otherwise, I will still request everyone to please carry on in the same spirit, that we, within the constraints, are able to achieve what we have been asked to. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for setting the tone of the discussion and definitely pointing out something new, that is scouting of the talent, wherever it is, the gifted talent, and for scouting that, not taking the ways which are prevalent and thinking out of the box in searching that talent. Thank you very much, sir. And our next panelist in the discussion is Professor Pankaj Arora, and he is presently the head and the dean in the CIE Delhi University, and his academic journey has been marked with numerous accomplishments and a prolific contribution in the field of education. He has authored 8 books, and his expertise runs beyond writing, presented research papers at various national and international conferences, and his valuable insights have been sought after in research and innovation. His contributions to the field of research, teaching, and his expertise have earned him recognition and accolades, including being selected as top 20 influential researchers in Indian higher education for the year 2020 by a German organization, and I'm not able to spell out correctly. And in addition to his academic achievements, he holds significant administrative and academic responsibilities in the Delhi University, and as a Dean of Student Welfare, and currently serves as Director of Institute of Lifelong Learning at the Delhi University. And his area of specialization include pedagogy of political science, adolescence education, and social science education. We are truly privileged to have Professor Arora with us, and he would be deliberating further on the theme. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. Respected Chairperson Shri Rajesh Khullar ji, co-panelist Robin Chatterjee ji, Khushbu Awasthi ji, and the moderator Sharat Sinha ji. Chatterjee nahi, Chetri ji, I am sorry. Robin Chetri ji, moderator Sharat Sinha ji, and distinguished peers of independence. So we are the people who are shaping them. We are the people who are helping them to become leaders for 2047 onwards. We teachers, educationists, researchers, administrators in the field of education need to join hands and see how best we can do for the young children. Already new education policy, national education policy has given us multiple provisions for this. Policy is not supposed to give us a solution to different situations, but to provide us provisions how to solve those problems and provide us a framework within which we can work collectively for the betterment of the entire system of education and ultimately for the country. This is the time when we need to empower. Whom to empower? We need to empower our students, we need to empower our parents, teachers, institutions, and SCERTs and DIETs, as I mentioned earlier, already working at state level and district level, are the key agents in this empowerment process. Yesterday only, when somebody from my office came here to collect pass on my behalf, when he reached office and he said, "Sir, that this mandapam is beautifully constructed and it seems like I am in a European country or in the West." Yesterday only we were holding a panel discussion in my department where we were discussing how teacher education has been re-envisioned in NEP 2020. And during those two discussions, one with the individual who came to collect pass and second in the panel discussion, we were discussing why we all the time want to project our country as country of poor people. Why we want to project our country who is helpless. Why we want to project our country who cannot do anything to improve the system. We the citizens are the citizens of a democratic nation. And in democracy, constitution starts with the line, "We the people of India." So constitution has already empowered us that we the people of India are the people who are given this responsibility to be the architect for the nation. For last 30-40 years, during my adolescent stage, school stage, college stage, हमेशा ये सुन के हम लोग बड़े हुए कि हम teaching profession is not a good profession, economically not viable for the people. प्रेमचंद की कहानियों से और बॉलीवुड की फिल्मों से हमने सुना, मेरे पिताजी एक गरीब मास्टर थे. वो गरीब मास्टर हमेशा हेल्पलेस साउंड करता है, साइकिल पे जाता है, एक लंबा सा छाता उसके हाथ में होता है और फिर वो टेक्नोलॉजी की तरफ भी नहीं जाता, चॉक एंड टॉक मेथड के साथ आगे बढ़ना चाहता है. Now that time has gone. Now it's time for new India. And in this vision of new India, we all need to project the nation as one beautiful nation which has already attained 5th largest economy in the world. And in the near future, we are having the role objective to lead it as 3rd largest economy in the world. SCERT and DIETs, जैसे मैंने कहा कि ग्राउंड लेवल पे काम करते हैं, उनकी हिस्ट्री में बताऊंगा, थोड़ा सा उनकी डिटेलिंग दूंगा. बट बिफोर दैट आई वुड लाइक टू हेल्प अस ऑल अंडरस्टैंड कि आज जो इंडिया है, आज का जो यूथ है, आज का जो लाइफस्टाइल है, वो किसी भी कंट्री से इधर वेस्ट और यूरोप और एनी अदर डेवलप्ड नेशन इन द वर्ल्ड, किसी से भी हम कम नहीं हैं, किसी भी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कम नहीं है. तो ये गिल्ट के साथ, ये लो सेल्फ एस्टीम के साथ जो हम बड़े हुए थे, कम से कम मेरी जनरेशन ने जो देखा था, वो आज की जनरेशन को हमें बार बार दिखाने की जरूरत नहीं है. वी नीड टू टेल देम. एम्पावरमेंट वहीं से स्टार्ट होता है, जब हम अपने यंग बच्चों को ये समझाते हैं, यू हैव द वर्ल्ड टू कंकर, यू आर द मास्टर ऑफ योर सिचुएशन एंड डू वट एवर यू वॉन्ट टू डू. पॉलिसी ने वो प्रोविजन दिया कि मल्टीपल एवेन्यूज फॉर एम्प्लॉयमेंट, मल्टीपल कॉम्बिनेशंस ऑफ एकेडमिक चॉइसेस, मल्टीपल एंट्री एग्जिट ऑप्शंस, और इस तरह के बहुत सारे प्रोविजंस के साथ स्टूडेंट्स को एम्पावर किया, टीचर्स को एम्पावर किया, इंस्टीट्यूशंस को एम्पावर किया. गैप कहाँ है? गैप है, जैसे अभी मैं अपनी को पैनलिस्ट खुशबू अवस्थी जी से बात कर रहा था, when we are working in the ground as an NGO and in voluntary organization, we do not have any connect with the university research. When the bureaucrats like Khullar Saab sit to frame policy for a state education, they have their own inputs which bureaucratic channels provide them. The university research, the research projects of ICSSR, UGC, NCERT, World Bank, they all remain confined to the report submitted to the relevant organization and kept in the library. ये जो गैप है, इसी को फिल करने की इम्पॉर्टेंट जरूरत है, और इसीलिए ये स्ट्रेंथनिंग एकेडमिक लिंकेजेस की बात आई. ये एकेडमिक लिंकेजेस जो गैप में बने हुए हैं, these need to be filled. Inter-institutional linkages are very crucial. We are in the world where we all are believing in peaceful coexistence. इंटरडिपेंडेंस का लेवल क्या है कि एज ए प्रोफेसर, एज अ वाइस चांसलर, एज एन एकेडमिशियन, एज एन IAS ऑफिसर, मुझे फैमिली भी देखना है, मुझे मेट्रो में भी ट्रेवल करना है, मुझे नेबर को भी डील करना है, मुझे ऑटो रिक्शा भी लेना है, मुझे शाम को सब्जी भी खरीदना है, दूध भी खरीदना है. तो आई एम डूइंग ऑल दीज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज एज अ फैमिली मैन ऑल्सो, एज अ प्रोफेशनल ऑल्सो. तो ये जो ये जो मल्टी रिलेशनशिप्स है लाइफ की सिचुएशंस का, ये हमें प्रमोट करता है कि हम मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरिटी की तरफ जाएं. और जब हम मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरिटी की तरफ जा रहे हैं, जो पॉलिसी ने भी रास्ता खोला है, तो फिर हम इंटर इंस्टीट्यूशनल लिंकेजेस के जो गैप्स पिछले 30 साल में बहुत अच्छे से आइडेंटिफाई हुए हैं, उनको ब्रिज करने का प्लान कैसे करेंगे, इसके बारे में आई वुड बी शेयरिंग माई आइडियाज. So this inter-institutional linkage is very, very crucial for effective functioning of any institution at any level. चाहे वो family level है, state level है, national level है, या international level है. There are 3 significant aspects for streaming such linkages, which are administrative, financial, and functional. इन तीनों लेवल्स को लेके अगर हम सोचते हैं, तो इनको एड्रेस करने के लिए SIE स्टेट इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ एजुकेशन 1960 में कॉन्सेप्चुलाइज हुए थे कि स्टेट लेवल बॉडीज होंगी जो एजुकेशन को गाइड करेंगी. 1973 में मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एजुकेशन एंड सोशल वेलफेयर डिपार्टमेंट रिकमेंडेड मर्जर ऑफ मल्टीपल यूनिट्स वर्किंग इन द फील्ड ऑफ एजुकेशन टू क्रिएट अ स्टेट लेवल बॉडी कॉल्ड SCERT. आज हमारी कंट्री में 31 SCERTs हैं और एक SIE है, विच इज देयर इन अंडमान एंड निकोबार ओनली, और कुछ हैं यूनियन टेरिटरीज जहां ये बॉडीज अभी नहीं काम कर रही हैं. SCERTs नोडल एजेंसीज हैं स्टेट लेवल के ऊपर एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन को प्रमोट करने के लिए. एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन विच नॉमेनक्लेचर विल नाउ बी आउटडेटेड with the new nomenclature, with the new school structure which Prime Minister has mentioned in the morning, 5+3+3+4. So foundational stage is going to be the key factor in the entire education system. SCERT कैसे इस फाउंडेशनल स्टेज को आने वाले 5 साल में 10 साल में अनफोल्ड करेगी, इसके लिए करिकुलम कैसा होगा, पेडागॉजी कैसी होगी, टॉय पेडागॉजी होगी, इनोवेटिव पेडागॉजी होगी, टीचर्स कैसे तैयार होंगे, टीचर्स की प्रिपरेशन की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज में SCERT क्या रोल प्ले करेगा, ये सब अगले 5-7 साल में अनफोल्ड होना है. लेकिन एजुकेशन पॉलिसी 1986 ने डाइट्स का नया कॉन्सेप्ट दिया दैट देयर शुड बी अ एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन एट ईच डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल, और वो डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल से ही रास्ता खोलेगा. हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की फंडिंग से एक डाइट इस्टेब्लिश होगा जो उस डिस्ट्रिक्ट की एकेडमिक रिसोर्स का काम करेगा. कोठारी कमीशन, विच इज वन ऑफ द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कमीशन फॉर द कंट्री, इससे पहले बहुत सारे कमीशन बने. आप में से कोई बताना चाहेगा व्हाई कोठारी कमीशन इज नोन एज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट कमीशन ऑफ इंडियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम? कोई भी अपना व्यू बताना चाहेगा? मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि कोठारी कमीशन इज मोस्ट रेलिवेंट कमीशन, मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट कमीशन टिल डेट. आप में से कोई ऐड करेगा? क्यों? प्लीज. इससे पहले राधा कृष्ण कमीशन आया, मुदालिया कमीशन आया, डिफरेंट कमीशंस आए, उनका डोमेन वेरी स्पेशलाइज था. लाइक राधा कृष्ण कमीशन वाज गिवन अ मैंडेट टू रिव्यू हायर एजुकेशन एंड टू गिव रिकमेंडेशंस फॉर इंप्रूवमेंट. मुदालिया कमीशन को मैंडेट दिया सेकेंडरी एजुकेशन. ठीक इसी तरह पहला कमीशन था नेशनल कमीशन ऑन एजुकेशन, जिसके चेयरपर्सन दौलत सिंह कोठारी थे. उन्हें यह मैंडेट मिला ओवरव्यू इंडियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम, नॉट अ स्पेसिफिक लेवल बट इंडियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम आंगनवाड़ी, प्री प्राइमरी टू फॉर्मल हायर एजुकेशन, वोकेशनल एजुकेशन, वुमेन एजुकेशन, ट्राइबल एजुकेशन एंड एवरीथिंग वट एवर फॉल्स अंडर द कैटेगरी ऑफ एजुकेशन. तो ये जब एजुकेशन कमीशन ने कहा, एम्फेसाइज द नीड फॉर टीचर एजुकेशन टू बी ब्रॉट टू द mainstream academic life of the universities on the one hand and school life and educational development on the other hand. इसी की लाइन में चट्टोपाध्याय कमीशन ने रिट्रीट किया that we need to enable general and professional education that can be pursued concurrently. इसी के साथ ये इंपॉर्टेंट है समझना कि नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी 86 इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद सेकंड एजुकेशन पॉलिसी हमारी कंट्री की, इसने जिस तरह से एजुकेशन को देखा साइंस के ओरिएंटेशन के साथ, मैथमेटिक्स के ओरिएंटेशन के साथ, और उसके बाद एक प्लान ऑफ एक्शन आया जिसने प्री सर्विस और इन सर्विस की बात की. एजुकेशन पॉलिसी 2020 इज द फर्स्ट पॉलिसी जिसको पढ़कर एज अ स्टूडेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन व्हाट आई हैव अंडरस्टूड इज द पॉलिसी इज प्रपोजिंग teacher education is the backbone of entire education system. Education system को सुधारना है तो टीचर एजुकेशन इज द एजेंट, क्योंकि टीचर एक ऐसा सेंट्रल पॉइंट है. अगर उसकी क्वालिटी एजुकेशन है, जैसे जो टर्म्स अभी खुल्लर साहब मेंशन कर गए थे, इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, वुमेन एजुकेशन, एम्पावरिंग एजुकेशन, आप एजुकेशन के जितने डोमेन देंगे उनको ट्रांसलेट क्लासरूम में करने की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टीचर के पास है. और one of my professor used to say, give me the best of curriculum and I will see it fails in a classroom. Give me best of the textbooks and I will see it fail in the classroom. क्यों? क्योंकि he helped me understand कि क्लासरूम में I am the master of situation. मुझे डिसाइड करना है मेरी पेडागॉजी क्या होगी, मेरे एग्जाम्पल्स क्या होंगे, और उन पेडागॉजी और उन एग्जाम्पल्स के साथ मैं आपके बेस्ट करिकुलम को सुपर बेस्ट भी बना सकता हूं और उसको फेल भी कर सकता हूं. मैं आपकी टेक्स्ट बुक्स को सुपर टेक्स्ट बुक्स की तरह प्रोजेक्ट भी कर सकता हूं और क्लासरूम में फेल भी कर सकता हूं. इसका बड़ा अच्छा एग्जाम्पल मैंने 2019 में देखा. आई विजिटेड जम्मू एंड कश्मीर. आई वॉज वर्किंग ऑन अ ICSSR प्रोजेक्ट एंटाइटल्ड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ सिटीजनशिप and democracy among the young students of Jammu and Kashmir, and my focus was Kashmir. It is pre 370 era, जब 370 आर्टिकल एग्जिस्ट करता था उस पीरियड का रिसर्च था मेरा. हटा तो उसके बाद था। जब मैं फील्ड में गया, आई वॉज सरप्राइज टू सी दैट जम्मू SCERT इज फॉलोइंग NCERT टेक्स्ट बुक्स, दे आर फॉलोइंग नेशनल करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क 2005। तो पहला शॉक मेरी लाइफ का था कि जब सेम करिकुलम है, सेम टेक्स्ट बुक्स हैं, तो व्हाई यंग पीपल इन जम्मू एंड कश्मीर are not realizing the same meaning and same importance of the concept of democracy and citizenship. Why they feel only violence is the only solution before them. जब मैंने ऑब्जर्वेशन किया स्कूल्स को विजिट करके, स्कूल प्रिंसिपल से बात करके, स्कूल के बच्चों से बात करके, देन आई रियलाइज्ड कि क्लासरूम में जब टीचर पढ़ा रहा है तो बच्चों ने ऐसा बताया, ऑफ कोर्स टीचर तो कोई नहीं बताएगा मुझे, बच्चों ने ऐसा बताया कि सर जब थ्योरी पढ़ाई जाती है तो बाद में कहा जाता है ये सब बेकार है, असलियत वो है जो हम तुम्हें बता रहे हैं जम्मू और कश्मीर की, और उसमें स्टोन प्लेटिंग इज द ओनली सोल्यूशन, अटैकिंग आर्मी इज द ओनली सोल्यूशन, अटैकिंग इंडिया इज द ओनली सोल्यूशन। वन ऑफ द PhD स्कॉलर इन जम्मू यूनिवर्सिटी, जम्मू सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी, व्हेन आई वाज टॉकिंग टू हिम अबाउट द इश्यूज ऑफ कश्मीर, तो मैंने उसे कहा कि व्हाट इज योर कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी? He said, what democracy you're talking of? I said, I think as a PhD scholar, you have some understanding of the concept of democracy. He asked me, are you from India? यानी कि हमारा बेस्ट करिकुलम, बेस्ट टेक्स्ट बुक्स जो पूरे नेशनल लेवल पे चल रही हैं, उनका इम्पैक्ट एक पर्टिकुलर स्टेट में उस टाइम तक 2019 की स्टडी तक, 20 की स्टडी तक नहीं आ रहा था। रीजन, क्लासरूम में टीचर पढ़ाने के बाद कहता है ये थ्योरेटिकल है, रियल नहीं है, ये इंडिया में होता है, यहां नहीं होता है। तो वो बच्चा यही मान रहा है कि व्हाट डेमोक्रेसी यू आर टॉकिंग एंड आर यू फ्रॉम इंडिया। ये सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ जम्मू में कश्मीर से आए हुए एक स्टूडेंट ने मुझे कहा, और फिर मुझे वहां के लोकल टीचर्स ने और जो स्टूडेंट PhD स्कॉलर मेरे साथ गए थे, दे ऑल टोल्ड मी कि सर ये तो हम जम्मू में बैठे थे तो ये बच्चा इतना एग्रेसिव हुआ आपके साथ, कहीं आप कश्मीर में बैठे होते तो आपका क्वेश्चन आया फाड़ के मुंह पे फेंकता आपके ये। तो इस तरह की जो सिचुएशन है वो हमें इस चीज के लिए अलार्म करती है कि हमारे टीचर्स कैसे होंगे, टीचर्स की प्रिपरेशन कैसी होगी, प्रिपरेशन के बाद इन सर्विस टीचर एजुकेशन कैसा होगा। ये सारे रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज SCERT और DIET को 86 की पॉलिसी ने दिया था। SCERT प्रोवाइड एकेडमिक सपोर्ट टू एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन। We are a state which has a division of subjects between central list and state list, और education concurrent list में है, और elementary education state subject है। तो state subject होने की वजह से SCERT is solely responsible to promote elementary education in the concerned state. This SCERT is supposed to undertake coordination of all academic matters relating to school education, maintaining appropriate linkages with the, ये मैं आपको सिर्फ थोड़ा सा बता रहा हूँ कि SCERT और DIET से expectations क्या हुई हैं हमारी, फिर मैं थोड़ा सा आगे बताऊंगा कि कहाँ हम फेल हो गए हैं, और मेरा लास्ट पार्ट होगा what we are supposed to do to improve the system. सर आप मुझे बता देना जब टाइम लगेगा, एक्सीड कर रहा हूँ मैं। हाँ जी, मैं इसीलिए स्लाइड पूरी नहीं पढ़ रहा सर, मैं स्किप कर दूँ जी। अब जैसे मैंने कहा कि जो गैप्स हैं, गैप्स इसलिए हैं क्योंकि SCERT चाहे वो सिक्किम का है, चाहे वो जम्मू का है, चाहे वो गोवा का है, वो ग्राउंड लेवल पर रीजनल कॉन्टेक्स्ट को, रीजनल लैंग्वेज को, रीजनल पेडागोजी को, रीजनल एग्जाम्पल्स को, रीजनल वेजिटेशन को, रीजनल नीड्स को, रीजनल कल्चर को, रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस को जितना अच्छा समझता है, शायद सेंटर में शरद जी की NCERT उतना अच्छा नहीं समझती। क्योंकि सेंटर में हम जब इंडिया में इंडिया के लिए पॉलिसी बनाते हैं तो हम हर स्टेट का उसकी डाइवर्सिटी को तो ध्यान में रखते हैं, लेकिन उसका माइक्रो लेवल सिस्टम हम मेंटेन कर ही नहीं सकते, क्योंकि एक बुक में हम इतने सारे एग्जांपल्स नहीं ला सकते कि हम हर स्टेट को एड्रेस कर दें। वो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी SCERT की है। SCERT is supposed to provide inputs to NCERT, NEPA and NCT, ताकि वहाँ के लोकल चैलेंजेस, जैसे छत्तीसगढ़ में मैंने एक एकेडमिक प्रोजेक्ट किया ऑन टीचर एजुकेशन। छत्तीसगढ़ में मुझे पता लगा कि जो NCF बनता है, क्योंकि हर स्टेट को ये फ्रीडम है SCERT को कि वो अपना SCF बनाए, स्टेट करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क बना सकता है इन लाइंस विद NCF। तो छत्तीसगढ़ में उस टाइम SCF था, वहां जाके मैंने पता किया SCF क्यों बनाना पड़ा, क्योंकि वहां की लोकल नीड्स, ट्राइबल पॉपुलेशन है, नक्सलाइट मूवमेंट बहुत एक्टिव है, तो वहां काफी कुछ आवश्यकता है। देन आई विजिटेड सम डिस्ट्रिक्ट जो नक्सलाइट इंपैक्टेड डिस्ट्रिक्ट थे, तो वहां मुझे पता लगा कि उनके पास DCF भी है, डिस्ट्रिक्ट करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क भी है, यहां तक कि ब्लॉक लेवल पे भी टेक्स्ट बुक्स लिखी जाती हैं टू एड्रेस द लोकल कंसर्न्स एंड लोकल लैंग्वेज। ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी SCERTs की है, और SCERTs अगर इनपुट्स देगा NCERT को, नीपा को, NCT को, तो आई एम श्योर जो फ्रेमवर्क्स बनेंगे वो ज्यादा फ्लेक्सिबल होंगे, ज्यादा लार्ज होंगे। NEP ने SCERT के गोल को कैसे एनविजन किया? विद द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ NCF, जिसकी बात सुबह हुई कि फाउंडेशनल स्टेज का NCF ऑलरेडी अनाउंस हो चुका है, रिलीज हो चुका है, एंड नाउ स्कूल एजुकेशन का करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क इज इन पाइपलाइन, कैन बी अनाउंस्ड एनी डे। This development of syllabi and textbook teams to work on ensuring the contextualization according to the local and state level needs and reduction of curriculum content in each subject to its core essentials. ये SCERT की एक मेजर एकेडमिक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि वो NCERT के दिए हुए करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क को लोकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट के साथ जोड़कर मिनिमाइज करे, कोर एसेंशियल्स को ले, और लोकल कंटेंट को, लोकल एग्जांपल्स को, लोकल कल्चर को, लोकल लैंग्वेजेस को ज्यादा स्पेस दे। अगर मैं रोड मैप फॉर SCERT और डाइट्स की बात करूं, तो इन द लाइट ऑफ NEP 2020 द SCERTs एंड डाइट्स हैव टू स्प्रेड द स्टेट्स एंड UT इन प्रोवाइडिंग क्वालिटी एजुकेशन। डाइट्स में integrate both formal and informal agencies to promote elementary education. Right to Education Act 2009 अनाउंस हुआ, लेकिन क्या आज हमें सड़क पर हर रेड लाइट पर भीख मांगते हुए छोटे छोटे डेली नीड की चीजें बेचते हुए बच्चे दिखाई नहीं देते? वो स्कूल से बाहर क्यों हैं? अगर 2009 में हमने सक्सेसफुली RTE इंप्लीमेंट किया है, तो व्हाई दिस गैप इज देयर? That is a matter of concern for all of us. SCERT, being the academic authority, is ultimately responsible for ensuring the quality at elementary school level and to provide an equitable and inclusive. Equitable का meaning भी प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने बड़ा अच्छा समझाया था कि हम इक्वालिटी से क्या चाहते हैं। इक्वालिटी मीन्स आपकी जरूरत के हिसाब से, इक्विटेबल नॉट इक्वल, इक्विटेबल जस्टिस होना चाहिए। NEP SCERTs को चेंज मैनेजमेंट प्रोसेस का सेंटर बनाती है, सेंटर मानती है। हाँ, सेंटर मीन्स केंद्र, नॉट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट। SCERT should be the nodal agent in the state to establish proper coordination and collaboration with. We are one of the large nation. अब तो हम पॉपुलेशन में भी लार्जेस्ट हो गए हैं, और ज्योग्राफिकली भी हम बहुत बड़ा देश हैं। यहाँ आप छोटा सा प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट करते हैं तो उसका मैग्नीट्यूड इज वेरी वेरी बिग, वेरी वेरी हाई। ऐसे में अगर स्टेट लेवल के ऊपर SCERTs अपने अपने स्टेट को कोऑर्डिनेट करती हैं तो काम आसान हो जाता है। टू स्ट्रेंथन SCERTs एंड डाइट्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, कॉम्पिटेंट फैकल्टी विद द सपोर्ट ऑफ स्टाफ फ्रॉम UGC पे स्केल। अब SCERT डेली कम से कम UGC पे स्केल, UGC रेगुलेशन पे आ गया है, और हमें SCERT फैकल्टी इज एट पार विद एनी कॉलेज फैकल्टी इन दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी, JNU, जामिया मिलिया इस्लामिया। मैंने ये तीनों सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटीज का नाम लिया क्योंकि SCERT इज एट पार विद देम इन टर्म्स ऑफ पे स्केल्स, इन टर्म्स ऑफ सर्विस कंडीशंस। तो आज कोई ऐसी वजह नहीं है कि हमारे पास बजट की कमी है, एडिक्वेट फंड्स हैं, या ऑटोनॉमी नहीं है हमारे पास डिसीजन लेने की। टेक्नोलॉजी ने ट्रांसपेरेंसी और अकाउंटेबिलिटी को इम्प्रूव किया है, और हम विद्या समीक्षा केंद्र खोलने की बात कर रहे हैं। आई विल स्किप दिस स्लाइड। इसमें मैं लास्ट में ये बात कहना चाह रहा था, एम्पावरिंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस एंड स्ट्रेंथनिंग एकेडमिक लिंकेज इज pivotal strategy in fostering the robust educational system in my country, in India. NEP 2020 जिसने इफेक्टिव क्वालिटी सेल्फ रेगुलेशन एक्रेडिटेशन सिस्टम की बात की है, to ensure that all schools follow certain minimal professional and quality standards. Policy कहती है now people means institutions should declare their strength, their library, their resources, their curriculum on the public domain and public should be auditor for them. Audit public करेगी और उसमें कहीं gap है तो उस gap को address किया जाएगा. Academic matters including academic standards and curricula in state are supposed to be led by SCERT. One more minute, sir. SCERT will develop school quality assessment. जैसे हम university quality assessments की बात कर रहे हैं, accreditations की बात कर रहे हैं, policy ये responsibility SCERT को देता है और उसको change management process का agent मानता है. My last slide, my conclusion on this. ये सारे बैकग्राउंड के साथ जो मैं समझा एज अ पर्सन ऑफ एजुकेशन, पॉलिसी हैज प्रपोज्ड दैट ईच स्टेट शुड हैव अ टीचर एजुकेशन यूनिवर्सिटी एंड दैट टीचर एजुकेशन यूनिवर्सिटी शुड नॉट ओनली प्रमोट रिसर्च इन द लोकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट थ्रू PhD scholars, through research projects, but also educate the people in the higher education system, train the people, take the responsibility of pre-service education as well as in-service education for the teachers. I suggest that all SCERTs, if possible, should be given a thought to be converted into teacher education universities in the country. क्योंकि जब तक SCERT को हम डिग्री असाइन करने की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं दे रहे, टीचर एजुकेशन में क्वालिटी इंप्रूवमेंट के लिए इट इज़ वेरी वेरी इसेंशियल. एम्पावरिंग की हम बात कर रहे हैं तो एम्पावरिंग के लिए यूनिवर्सिटी सिस्टम हैज मोर फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी एंड ऑटोनॉमी एज मेंशन्ड अर्लियर ऑल्सो. ठीक ऐसे ही जैसे डाइट्स हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में हैं, विद इट स्ट्रॉन्ग कनेक्ट एट द ग्राउंड लेवल इन ईच डिस्ट्रिक्ट, दे शुड बी मेड रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर ऑल एजुकेशनल मैटर्स इन द रिस्पेक्टिव डिस्ट्रिक्ट सच एज करिकुलम प्रिपरेशंस, टेक्स्ट बुक अरेंजमेंट्स, टीचर्स ट्रेनिंग, बी इट प्री सर्विस और इन सर्विस. अगर हम यूनिवर्सिटी बनाने की बात सोचते हैं डाइट्स को, SCERTs को, तो मुझे काफ़ी उम्मीद है कि हमारी कंट्री में जो 3 टीचर एजुकेशन यूनिवर्सिटीज़ हैं, तमिलनाडु में, गुजरात में और अब रिसेंटली इन दिल्ली, ये 3 एजुकेशन यूनिवर्सिटीज़ को, क्योंकि दिल्ली में बहुत नई है तो उस पर कमेंट करना अभी ठीक नहीं है, बट द यूनिवर्सिटी इन अहमदाबाद, यूनिवर्सिटी इन तमिलनाडु आर एक्चुअली डूइंग ग्राउंड लेवल, क्योंकि मैंने दोनों यूनिवर्सिटीज विजिट किया है, उनकी टीचर प्रिपरेशन के मॉडल्स लोकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हैं. वो तभी समझ में आएंगे जब वहाँ टीचर एजुकेटर भी लोकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट के होंगे और टीचर इन सर्विस प्रोग्राम्स भी लोकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट के होंगे. टीचर्स के लिए जो हम इन सर्विस प्रोग्राम्स डिज़ाइन करते हैं, डेवलप करते हैं, वो रिचुअल की तरह हैं. उनमें हैंड्स ऑन एक्सपीरियंस, विजिटिंग लाइब्रेरी, विजिटिंग फील्ड की पॉसिबिलिटीज कम हैं. मोर ऑफ लेक्चर एंड लेक्चर्स से भरे हुए हैं. तो वो 14 दिन के या 21 दिन के टीचर FDPs, इंस्टेड ऑफ अ रिफ्रेशर कोर्स इन द लाइफ ऑफ अ टीचर हु इज टीचिंग फॉर मोर देन 20 years नाउ, वो एक रिचुअल बन जाता है कि उसको अटेंड करना ही है, क्योंकि उसे ना तो लाइब्रेरी कंसल्ट करने की अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलती है, ना फील्ड में जाने की अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलती है और ना ही कोई हैंड्स ऑन एक्सपेरिमेंट करके एक्शन रिसर्च के थ्रू हम उसके प्रॉब्लम्स के सॉल्यूशंस ढूंढने के लिए उसे एम्पावर करते हैं. तो ये कॉन्टेक्स्ट मेरा है, इसीलिए मैं प्रपोज कर रहा था कि हम टीचर एजुकेशन यूनिवर्सिटीज़ का प्रमोशन अगर सोचते हैं तो उससे गैप जो है स्टेट का सेंटर के साथ, सेंटर की पॉलिसीज के साथ, करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क्स के साथ, उसको शायद एड्रेस करने में हेल्प मिलेगी. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you, Professor Pankaj, for a comprehensive presentation on the roles of DIETs and what the policy envisages. And now we have our next speaker, Dr. Rabin Chetri. Something has been said about him by the chairperson. A little, I'll try to speak, 1 minute. And Dr. Rabin Chetri currently holds the esteemed position of the Director of SCERT Sikkim, and his journey in education and academia has been truly remarkable, characterized by his dedication to innovative practices and transformative initiatives. And originally he is from higher education sector. His expertise is in the area of physics, and has served as an educator in Sikkim while also contributing as a visiting research associate in UGC's Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics in Pune. And he was the first director of SCERT Sikkim, and his remarkable achievement was to reorganize the SCERT, enhancing its structure and cadre. And his visionary approach resulted in this achievement and providing UGC pay scales to SCERT's members. So this is a significant achievement, and of course he has also been is not only his impact extends beyond SCERT Sikkim. He has been actively involved in national level committees and initiatives, a member of academic committee of NCERT, JRM for teacher education, and training advisory committee of CBSE. One of his notable initiative is embedding the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in the primary level textbooks of Sikkim. And his dedication and passion for education and his impactful contribution are numerous in the educational landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Rabin Chhetri.
Namaskar and good afternoon. Thank you, ma'am, for such lovely words. Respected Chairman, sir, my esteemed members of the panel, and of course, very dear colleagues of mine from different parts of the country. It's a privilege to be here, of course, and of course, many things have already been said. So I will stick to the, the topic, and also I would always love to talk about the key words that is given in the topic itself. It's the empowering institutions. So I will talk about the institutions. And then the second part is about the enhancing or strengthening the academic linkage through SCERT and DIETs. So in Professor Kapoor's presentation, you heard that what kind of roles and responsibilities are defined for SCERT. I will talk about what are the constraints in following those responsibilities. But SCERT has that vantage point of view. SCERT is placed in such a way that it can see what's happening in the national level. You can see clearly where SCERT is part of national team. SCERT is invited for different national meetings and the events happening in the national side. So we do get sense of what's happening in the national level. And then you go back to state and you will see what's happening in your state, what's happening in your districts, what's happening in your blocks, and what's happening in your clusters. So that way SCERT has got that vantage view. And it not only has that advantage of a very interesting point of view, that vantage point of viewing things, but at the same time it also has mandate of, of bringing those national ideas. The ideas that's being conceived in the national level, it has to go to the states through SCERT. And it's the responsibility of SCERT, which you have already thought. And in the context of the new education policy, the roles and responsibilities of SCERT has gone exponentially. So now, when you try to do that mandated work of SCERT, say for example, some idea in the national level, some policy has been framed, like new education policies. Now recently, the national curriculum framework for foundational stage has been launched. The NCERT defines learning outcomes. So many things happen. NCERT also, gives sample of that holistic 360-degree card. All these things happen in the national level, and you have that mandate of taking it to your state. Now, state means you will have to reach to that smallest unit of education, that's school. And your supporting agency, the smallest unit of your supporting agency is the cluster resource center. I mean, so in that sense, the institutions, if I may define institutions, if I look at the national level, the nearest institution we look forward is NCERT. Then being neighbors in the campus, NIPA. Then of course the NCTs are there. Then other institutions are there. Now, and if you go to you go back to your state, and the nearest collaborator for us who works as our younger brother are DIETs. And then you go a little deeper into the society, go deeper into the field, you have already a framework of block resource centers and cluster resource centers. And then all these units have defined roles. Their roles are defined in different documents. Their roles have actually evolved and changed whenever new committee is set up, new committee is formed. Now the latest one is the Samagra Shiksha, which is a product of, a merging of 3 different national projects of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, RMSA, and the central sponsored scheme of teacher has been 3 schemes merged into Samagra Shiksha. So then again, the role of SCERTs and DIETs have been changed, BRCs have been changed, CRCs have been changed. But then if you look at the health of these institutions, then you feel, so for example, something happens in the national level, SCERT is mandated to take it down to the state. So you talk to your DIET, you bring them together, you teach them, you orient them, and we send them to go to the BRC and the CRC level. There the problem starts. Like the BRCs, the way it has been envisaged as early as in the mid of 80s, when the district primary education plan was being framed. But then, even then, it's so long. But then their health is not, as we have desired it to be. Because if you look at these BRCs and CRCs are very strong in administrative jobs. They do administrative jobs, but where are the economics? So who will take those national philosophies, national policies down to the exact unit where it is supposed to be transacted in the classroom, as Sir said, within that 40 minutes what teacher does. So that channel of information we find little challenging. That's one challenge. That's why we are talking about linkage here, empowering the institutions here, because we have seen that practically happening there. Then again, you come to the national level. For an example, like in that, the district primary education plan, then later on came the SSA, then we had the Samagra Shiksha now. So the whole idea is that the nearest support system for a school, let's not talk about urban schools, but let's imagine a remote school in the village of Sikkim, a primary school, a junior high school. What do we give those teachers? One textbook and tell them fulfill the aspirations of the nation, fulfill the, the policy of the nation. But what is now if that teacher feels a little difficult, where to go for the support? The nearest support system for them, which is in the place, is the cluster resource center, right? Now, if you go and check any of your cluster resource center, you will find one junior level officer sitting there as a cluster resource coordinator. Who will help those teachers? You go to your block level, the block level has a little bit more of administrative sectors. There will be MIS sitting, there will be computer operators sitting, but where are those block resource people who are supposed to be extending that, those academic support to the school? In the recent report which the TSG of MHRD, Mr. Woming and Tara are sitting there, they produced one latest document of BRC and CRC where all the provisions of BRPs are there. Every block should have 6 different subject-related block resource persons sitting there in the block. But where are they? Do we really have in that situation? So these are the constraints which we have, the flow of information, the flow of intelligence, the flow of not only information, flow of the knowledge that has to go to the smallest unit, that is a little bit challenging, we find. And then as I was saying, it's not only one way. If I come from the, say for an example, one teacher finds a difficulty, then the cluster resource center is not able to solve his problem, the block resource is not able to solve the problem, DIET, and then comes to SCRT. Now, some problems are not also solvable from the SCRT portion. Then we go to the national level. Now, where do we look for those solutions? Where are those research centers which will give you that pedagogical content materials which will actually solve your problem? I mean, many times we have faced such problems. For an example, as ma'am was suggesting, like we wanted to write our textbooks with embedding of a sustainable development goal, because that was our state's policy. Like our state is known to be the first organic state. So there was a talk going on, we have to work on sustainable development goal, we have to embed those things in our textbooks. Then we started looking forward to the institutions, looking for the institutions which will help us. And as I said, the first institution is Saratji's institution, NCERT. NCERT does so wonderful jobs in many sectors, but they are overwhelmingly engaged in different kinds of work. But the kind of help which we are looking forward for long-term engagement, so 2 years, 3 years project, which will help us to embed sustainable development goal in our textbooks, who will help us? Any central universities education department? No. NIPA? No. NCERT? No. So then ultimately we went to the UNESCO's Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Education in Peace and Sustainable Development, MGI. So we have to go there. Then for training our textbook textbook writers, we had to collaborate. We had to take help of Ajim Premji University. So what I'm trying to say is that for SCERT to fulfill its mandate, the linkage, the desired, the needed linkage which we need, both sides, in the higher level for advisory, for research-oriented things, we have to look forward for institutions here. And then if you have to go down to the state level, your linkage to the DIETs are very good, extremely good, but again that road gets blocked when you go to BRCs and CRCs. Ultimately we cannot reach the needed, where it has to reach the school and actually to the teacher who spends 45 minutes in the classroom. So both ways we have challenges here. So how do we do that? How do we take it forward? The taking forward is very simple. For us, it might be a very simplistic idea. Like that framework is already there, BRCs, CRCs are already there. How many people should be there? The guidelines are already there. Even the mandated manpower of SCRTs and DIETs are already there. It has been newly revised. If we follow that, it doesn't, it will help in a lot of ways. But of course, it does not give us guarantee that it will work as desired. Because in the lighter sense, I was talking with my colleague from the Sikkim yesterday only, that had these centers been manned by instruments, then they would have really worked in sync. Like you give programs to the instruments, it will not fail you, it will work. But fortunately, unfortunately, these are manned by humans. So there are other elements, even those institutes are there, faculty members are sitting there, but there should be another level of skill to make them work in sync. And there should be another level of leadership quality which needs to make them work for one goal. So these are all challenges of SCERT, but manageable in many ways, maybe not in 100%, but it is doable. But that, in that sense, so SCERT and DIETs, the linkages, if you talk about any ideal SCERT, any ideal DIET will have linkages in different institutions which help them. So, for example, if you list them, the linkages are there. In the national level, as I said, NCERTs are there. There are other kind of institutions are also there in many states. Those are College of Teacher Educations are there. There are IASCs are there. CTs are there. College of Teacher Educations are already there. IASCs are also there. But the question is about maintaining that. The SCERT should have that, that efficiency to bring that linkage. And then these are academic linkages. But then there are another challenge for the SCERT, which also has to be managed in a well, is that after the merger of these three schemes into one of Samagra Shiksha, earlier the teacher education scheme was separate, so it was the funding was coming to SCERT and DIETs directly. But now it has merged into Samagra Shiksha, another kind of linkage within the which department itself. Because now it has become segregated, like SCERT has the knowledge, but there is another body which we call as Samagra Shiksha, through which the funding comes. They have the funding. So SCERT should develop another kind of skillfulness to keep linkage with Samagra Shiksha along with other directorates of education department, so that the whole education department works as a team, not in silos, not in different players of the thing. That's another kind of skills, another kind of linkage the SCERT also needs to do. So these are challenges, but these are, again, as I said, if we build our SCERTs and DIET in such a way, the way it is supposed to be, I mean, it seriously needs strengthening, because now if I just talk about DIETs, the mandated position in DIET presently as per the NCT is 8 faculty members just to run one unit of DLA. But if you look at the work of DIET people, that has increased after the launch of NEP, it has gone exponentially. They not only manage the preschool curriculum of DL, but the whole operational, aspects of implementing the academic portions, at least, of new education policy falls on DIET after SCERT, and they have to work in that. So presently our DIET faculties are at least 60 to 70% of the time they are in SCERT, doing ECC workshop, doing Vidya Pravesh workshop, doing foundational literacy numeracy workshop, So those 8 people who are managing free service and also things. So these are real challenges. We have to really empower, strengthen those institutions, then only we will be able to, deliver. So these are challenges. So the only solution is that please stick to the guidelines that has been given to you. What I'm trying to say is that the Samagra Shiksha guideline tells us to have at least 25 faculty members in DIETs. But now we have 8. Sir, even though Sir has already said that there will be always a shortage of manpower, there will always be a thing. But at least to perform this, yes, there are necessity for skillfulness of SCERT people and DIET people to connect, have linkages with different institutions to get those research feedbacks to the schools, to improvement of the school, but at the same time we also need manpower. These are major challenges. Even SCERT, in 2016, we wrote a new guideline. I was also a part of that. NCERT wrote. We divided SCERT of 2 different kinds as per the population of the state, less than 1 crore and more than 1 crore. So all those required faculty members of SCERT needs to be fulfilled. Then only SCERT will be able to work, at least in the minimum level. So these are challenges. So I have, since we wanted to have feedbacks, and then SCERT is another interesting aspect is that SCERTs have always been declared as academic authority of the state. It has been declared as academic authority of the state, but it has never been defined what authorities you have. In the context of SCERT being defined as an academic authority as as per the RT Act of 2009, the context was only given academic authority because it has to frame the curriculum and also validate the method of assessment. Only these 2 were there. But then now it's high time that the SCERT is converted into not only an advisory body, but also it should be given that teeth of the authority of being decision maker. then it can support the academic activities that are supposed to be held in Samagra Shiksha. So that way, just bullets like we need to strengthen, yes, strengthen all the teacher institutions like SCERT and DIETs as per the guidelines, existing guidelines. I just wanted to suggest one thing in this panel is that now for the implementation of a new education policy, now there is another body which keeps on discussing about what's happening in the state. That is Chief Secretary's conclave, Chief Secretary's meeting. Sir will be much aware of that. Now in Chief Secretary's meetings agenda, there are many things. Mostly these are infrastructure related, like benefit related. But these kind of strengthening those teacher education institutes which are said to be vital in implementing or successfully implementing new audience policy should also be discussed in your Chief Secretary's meeting, sir. Chief Secretary should also look into whether your SCRTs are really strengthened to work as it is expected to. If your DIETs and BRCs and CRCs are really working as they are meant to, they are manned in such a way, if it is discussed in the Chief Secretary's level, then it will be of great help. That's my thing. And then again, I just hinted that point, like it's high time that academic authority tag of SCERT needs to be defined. It really needs to be, like what kind of authority. It has to be defined, and possibly in the discussion it will come out. And then finally, as I said, when SCERT looks forward to the national level, the nearest NCERT, very interesting things they do, but then long term, if you have to long term projects, if you have to think about, then NCERT may not come forward because their plates are always full. So in that sense, one institution was tried to be created. As sir was saying, the University of Teacher Education, one CUTE was tried. I was one of the members of that panel, but then it kind of fizzled out. But there is another institute which I would like to mention here is the Inter-University Center of Teacher Education. It was meant to have a consortium facility wherein all the knowledge created in different universities were kept in one place. And any teacher educator needs any support, that he or she would be looking forward to that inter-university center. But that center also has been established in a few states, but it has not taken up. It is growing slowly. So we are in need of such an institution which will have consortium facilities for all the teacher educators of the state. So these are the scenario. These are some like take forward actions which we can discuss in the panel. So from the perspective of the SCERT, from the practitioner's perspective of the state, I wanted to show you what kind of situation we have. But many of the states, SCERTs and DIETs and even other institutions are doing extremely well, extremely sincerely. They are working for the implementation of new education policy with the belief that this policy has all the components to change the paradigm, and then the expected role of SCERT, as sir was mentioning, to lead that process of change. That is, many SCERTs are following that, and they are successfully discharging their duty as that. So with these words, thank you for hearing to me. I'll stop here and look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arvind, and very well spoken and spoken from heart, because if we want the SCERTs to be the agent of change, we need to fuel them administratively, financially, handhold them, and have a free communication, both-sided communication, and all the issues which were highlighted by Dr. Arvind Chhetri. We have our last eminent panelist in today's group discussion, and she is Ms. Khushbu Awasthi. She is the co-founder and Chief Operating Officer of Siksha Lokam, a non-profit organization dedicated to the mission of education, leadership development. And the organization collaborates with Department of School Education across various states and central government institutions to design school improvement and leadership development programs, making a significant impact on the educational landscape. Khushbu ji is also a co-founder of Mantra for Change, another remarkable non-profit organization that is driving systemic information in the Indian education system. So her dedication to making a positive change in education is evident from her involvement in various working committees of National Mentoring Mission of the National Council of Teacher Education, and her contributions have earned her well-deserved recognition, as she was honored with Women Transforming India Awards in 2021 by the Niti Aayog, and also is a part of World Education 40 Under Power List 2022, which celebrates young leaders who are pioneering a difference in the education ecosystem. Her expertise lies in systems and platform thinking, and her interest encompasses exploring concept of agency, network, large-scale social movements, and societal role of technology in encouraging co-creation and collaboration. So please extend a warm welcome to Khushbu Awasthi ji, and I welcome you for your valuable insights.
Thank you so much, Sharad ji. Good afternoon, everyone. Namaskar, sabhi ko. Honorable Chairperson here, Dr. Chetri, Dr. Arora, and the audience. It's just, and I see it from the bottom of my heart that it is a matter of deep honor for me to be part of this panel that has such a great diversity, right from academia to government to an education official who is right inside the department and can share the insider's view, right? I'm a practitioner, I'm a social entrepreneur, and I chose to work in education 11 years ago. And that's the reason that I'm deeply interested, and I'm an ardent observer of the existing practices, the processes, the people, of our Indian education system, and also what is happening in the education system across different countries. So, when Sharaji shared this topic, that this would be the topic of discussion today, two examples came to my mind, and one in the earlier panel today, Honorable Secretary Sanjay ji already talked about the whole how education reform, the journey began in India as a country, and Dr. Arora also talked about it. Another example, another story that I would like to share with you is the story of Vietnam. Now, many of us know that Vietnam has had several socio-political challenges, and so as a country, it was in the 1970s that the Vietnam started their journey on the education reform. And like any well-meaning set of people and institutions, what they did was they increased the budget of what they were spending on education, and they used that budget to improve their curriculum and to design programs that would improve enrollment. Okay? And then years passed by, decades passed by, and they realized that while certain improvements were being observed, the student learning outcomes were not really changing that much. So in 1991, which was 20 years later, the Ministry of Education there, along with the insights that emerged from the study, is very relevant to us today. It said that the country never placed enough focus on teacher development. And there was no institutional framework that was provided on how the country should think about teacher development. And that was identified the whole 80-20 rule that all of us know of. The biggest cause was that teacher development not getting enough attention resulted to poor student learning outcomes. And that's when, that's when the country decided to change their course and took certain corrective actions. And in 2013, that is another 20 years from then, they conducted a study, and to nobody's surprise, the country's national average in terms of their students' learning achievement is way higher than any of its peer countries and even India. Right? So that's the story which clearly emphasizes why teacher development, why having strengthened institutions is so key to having the dream of your student learning outcomes achieved. our NEP, the Nipun Bharat mission, everybody talks about student learning outcomes. We have set very aspirational goals. But if I may dare to say so, it will all remain a dream if we do not actually strengthen our institutions and we do not strengthen the academic linkages between how the information flows, the capacity, the whole confidence and the competency flows from the state to district to actually the school, which is the unit of change, right? So, I think Dr. Chetri and Professor Arora have already talked about it. But I love how our NEP has provided this brilliant ray of hope in terms of detailing out the responsibilities that DIETs and SCERTs have. The roles clearly call out that how there has to be an emphasis on teacher and leaders capacity enhancement, how there has to be this continuous school-based support. And later in my talk, I'm going to give you a very interesting example of a state that is actually doing an excellent job of the second point. Research and developing curriculum, Dr. Chetri also spoke about. And last, I think the most important in today's context is how can you lead need-based academic initiatives, need-based that are contextually relevant. Dr. Chetri talked about how NCERT has very little, just by the sheer position of where it is, at what level it operates, it cannot have the context of every single state. Similarly, some of our states in the country are so huge. I mean, UP has more than 135,000 schools. Now, how do you imagine that somebody sitting in the SCERT in Lucknow would be able to design a very context-intensive curriculum or initiative for a teacher who's sitting in maybe Unnao or Raebareli or Varanasi, right? So how do we think of decentralization in the right approach? I think NEP has really set a nice vision for us, and all of us can choose to operate on it, and that is the only way that we'll be able to achieve the dream of this whole student learning outcomes and our students being ready for being the leaders of 2047, as the Honorable PM said this morning. So, like I said, I'm a practitioner, and I have brilliant stories from field that I want to share with you. 4 examples. And what gives me joy about these stories are that while NEP came in 2020, the vision has not just remained on paper. There's already enough action that's happening on ground that's giving all of us hope that things can be done if you really want to get it done, right? And wherever there are ambiguities or where things have been left at a certain meta level, that's actually a great opportunity for any of us, for the government officials, for the social entrepreneurs like me, for the NGOs sitting in this room, that how do you define those ambiguities and create your own clarity, create your own pathway, and then reach out to experts who can just add more clarity for you. So to take the example of the first state, and I was born in Bihar, so Bihar is very close to my heart and mind. We started working with the state in 2020 December, when the NEP was just released, very new. And for a very long time, Bihar DIETs were only engaged in the pre-service teachers' capacity building, right? And that was one of the reasons that they also felt very aloof from the schooling system. When I'm only working with the pre-service, I really have no, so to say, no locus of control over the teachers that are actually in the school today. Unless my students, my pre-service teachers are going as interns to the school, I have absolutely no touch point with the school. But luckily, fortunately, the SCERT there took this great challenge, and they said, hey, we will handhold you. Why don't you get into the in-service capacity development? And there was a gradual process of hand-holding, giving guidelines, conducting workshops at the state level, making sure that the DIET officials, the DIET lecturers, the DIET principals had that confidence that yes, I can do it. We can get into the in-service capacity development. We can understand what are the needs of the teachers today. And very step by step, this journey took place over the last couple of years. And today, as of last month, under the leadership of NCERT, and I must congratulate NCERT on this initiative where they encourage states to give the creation rights of programs, courses, and other solutions on Diksha, and they said DIET should be empowered as decentralized units of teacher development. So leveraging those instructions from NCERT, the SCERT in Bihar gave creation rights to DIETs in the districts. There are 33 such DIETs. And all of them first assessed the need of the teachers. They said, in my district, what are the needs? What are the common needs? Based on that, they designed different capacity development workshops, different capacity development initiatives for their own districts. For example, somebody in Banka district in Bihar, I remember talked about, they conducted a capacity development on student engagement in the classroom, versus Bhagalpur, which is one of the biggest districts in the state, talked about, conducted a workshop on cyber security, because turns out the teachers there in the high school were really concerned about how children are handling digital media, right? So just the power of getting close to the ground gives you that insight, helps you becoming more relevant to what the teachers need, and then teachers start reciprocating that respect, that trust in the diets. So you see, one side, the SCRT extended its hand of support to the diets. The diets carried out something for the teachers, which teachers found far more relevant than being able to travel to Patna for a 2-day workshop. And in the earlier panel, somebody was saying how even if the state conducts 2-day workshop, for teachers is actually plus 2 days, because you have to travel to the venue and then you have to come back from the venue. So saving all that hassles for the teacher, giving them more time inside the classroom, really build that trust and confidence among the teachers for the diets, right? And then they are far more open to reach out to diet to say, can we do this also? Can we do this also? So your schedule is just getting ready because teachers are reaching out to you, right? If I go to take a similar example from the state where my organization is based out of, it's Karnataka, very close to Bangalore district is Tumkur. And this, I want to take you to the peak of COVID time, the first wave of COVID when the schools were closed. A similar exercise was done by the diet in Tumkur, where they said, schools are closed, I do not have access to children, and teachers and principals were very, very confused on what to do, how to, learning loss is going to be very, very, disastrous. How do we try to at least, come to a course where we can really reduce the learning gaps. So as soon as the first lockdown got over, the diet in Tumkur conducted a capacity building workshop, and it was a continuous initiative, so I shouldn't call it a workshop. They engaged with the CRPs, the cluster resource people, the cluster resource persons and the school principals, giving them instructions and guidelines to say how do you approach parents, what are the different ways in ways that you can build community engagement. Can you create a learning space for children at home? Can you work with your parents so that they can create a learning space? Like most of us who were working from home during that time had a work desk, right? You had your place where you could work from. Can children have that learning space, their mini school inside their house? And this was a project that was taken up by all the teachers because everybody resonated with that need, and because diet promised them that support, that if you're stuck somewhere, we are there to help. So every week there used to be calls, virtual calls, where teachers used to get together. There were CRPs who were addressing, helping, resolving the issues that we were facing right there in real time, right? So it was more of a brainstorming space, and when people talk, I think all the barriers just melt away. So that's the power of, again, the power of decentralization, and how another state, Karnataka, is carrying that out. Because Rajesh ji is here, I really want to call out an example from Haryana. Haryana has done a lot of work in diet empowerment and brilliant work that the SCRT there is doing. But this is one recent example where we and our team were engaged with the SCRT there. It's called the Our School Chale campaign, where the SCRT identified 1100 plus schools that they felt were struggling with the enrollment issue. They said, we have to solve it. Enough is enough. And so they onboarded 21 diets across the state to work on this project. They said, hey, you become the nodal agencies of supporting these school principals and carrying out this micro improvement project, where parents are made aware, parents are being told what are the brilliant things that the Haryana Government Department of School Education is doing in terms of improving the quality of education. And this was carried out, right? And diet again here played a very significant role in terms of supporting the teachers, supporting the principals right in the district, which SCRT alone could have never been able to do. So again, this companionship, this partnership is something that really strengthens getting things done at the school level, right? Where students are getting benefited. Last example from our recent work in Nagaland. Dr. Chetri, you were talking about contextualization, and NEP also tells how contextualization and design of contextual relevant content is responsibility of SCRT. So, and sometimes we always operate by saying, oh, how difficult it is, oh, how much scarcity is there, how do we do this? But Nagaland, what they did, they used the SCERT in Nagaland, they used their teachers and said, can we curate a list of 40 very, very local indigenous games? And it was done in such a nice, encouraging manner that 40 such games were quickly curated and were put in a textbook like this, in an instruction sheet. There are digital resources that support teachers in terms of how do you take it to the classroom, and a whole full-fledged program got developed around it. Right? Nagaland SCERT also then has taken up this design of very contextual early childhood curriculum, which is right now being piloted with 40 plus schools, and very soon after the study of its efficacy, will be rolled out to all the schools in the state. Why I am sharing this with you is to say, while these things sometimes look very scary, kaise karenge, kaise hoga, kaun karega, if you actually put your mind to it and your effort to it, it gets done. Right? It's all about all the institutions extending themselves and saying, I'm here to support you. What is it that you can support me with? And this is examples from our states, right? Our country. So everything is already happening. We just have to take this further. So, why I'm sharing, again, just to conclude, because I'm also mindful of the time here, and thank you for being patiently listening to this panel. Stories are always very, very interesting, and I'm a fan of stories. But the reason I'm sharing these stories with you to actually figure out what are the enablers, what made this happen, and is it something that all of us can take back to our states, to our leaders, to say, can we do it? So the first point, I think even Dr. Chetri talked about it. Karna kya hai? A lot of time we get lost in words, because policies are meant to be like that. They're very visionary, they're very meta. So how do we get clarity in terms of what is it that I have to do in my everyday life? Right? Can I get the clarity in terms of, so what does it mean that if I have to be a change management leader in the state process, change management process leader in my state? So again, interesting story and experience from Bihar. Under the leadership of when the Honorable Secretary Sanjay Ji was the Additional Chief Secretary of Education in Bihar, under his leadership only we carried out this exercise. NEP talks about SQA. All of us know about SQA, this whole school quality assurance and accreditation framework, where they say this is how a good school should look like. Can we have a framework? And CBSE has already developed it. Now in Bihar we said, can we have a similar quality framework for diet? What should a good diet look like? When would you say that this diet is high performing or poor performing? So SCERT, along with a few retired professionals from diet and the current faculty of diet, they formed a committee and they culled out a framework like that, a full quality framework for diets. And then every single diet in the state was able to self-assess themselves on that framework to say, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Capacity building was done for that. Once they rated, every month there used to be discussion with the director at the state level to say, how do we take you to the next level? Here are 5 things that you can do so that you can move to the next level. And then there were these communities of practice being formed, where different diets who were at the same level came together to discuss without even the presence of a state level official. Can any of us design that framework in our own state? Yes, we can, right? If we get together a team of experts, experts are everywhere, in education experts are many. Can we just get them together and then draw such a framework where diet faculty, they get clarity on what would make them an exceptional professional and what would make their diet a star diet. So, and second, obviously capacity, because just because you are in diet, let's not assume that they know exactly how to carry out their role. When roles have been changed in the NEP, new responsibilities have been given, any of us, even in the corporate sector or even in the government sector, I'm sure, when you get into a new role, there has to be certain orientation, there has to be certain capacity building workshop that has to be conducted. So, partnership with SCERT and the senior diet professionals. Second enabler that I have found from our work in the states is taking a micro improvement approach. When I say micro improvement, we can be very, very visionary in our imagination, but if the life of the stakeholder on the ground who has to carry out that task significantly changes, if I say today you are going to Delhi University and tomorrow you have to go to Mumbai TIS University, you will be baffled. You will say, how? it means changing so many things in my life, and I won't be very comfortable doing it. So taking a micro improvement approach means changing one practice at a time. My diets were already giving handouts after a workshop. I said, can you start giving a digital handout? Now step number 2, NCERT conducted capacity building workshops in terms of how do you design courses on Diksha. So now next step, these digital handouts, can you convert that into interactive revision courses for your teachers who attend your course? +1, +1, +1, and when these +1 keeps adding up, finally you reach an equilibrium which is to your taste. Right? So micro improvement approach has been a big success in our approach, and that is something that I strongly recommend. Third, I know Mr. Rajesh, he already spoke about it, that we should not talk about or emphasize too much upon people and budget allocation, but that's a systemic constraint that maybe in time we have to come back to it, because at the end of it, if a diet has just one faculty, the diet is bound to not sustain. Any institution needs people. So one day we should talk about it. Fourth point, the CSO ecosystem. I think all of us, if we just look around, each of us are here to also build new connections, to build new networks. In a state, if the government officials can just reach out to the NGOs to say, how can you support in my mission? I'm not buying into your product, I'm not buying into your program, but can we come together to co-create certain programs? That invitation of co-creation can be very powerful, and if that SCERT and the Department of School Education across states can do it, it can be very powerful, and that's what we have observed in different states. We have worked in Punjab, we have been working in Andhra, Karnataka, Bihar, UP, everywhere it has been really, really game changing. And last point, I think that's very important in my mind in terms of how do you continue the momentum, because you can get the thing started but then it just drops. So how do you build momentum through reviews from the leadership? The important role that the state leadership, the Department of School Education can play is having these constant dialogues, celebrations, reviews, giving that governance into the system to say, hey, these things matter to me. So if say an additional chief secretary start talking to the diet faculties once a month through a Zoom call or through a virtual call, it would be really, really enabling and motivating for them. So how do you create these moments of joy, moments of celebration for the people on the ground who are actually doing the work? Really helps strengthen the academic linkages in more than one way, because you are affecting their psychological triggers. Right? So this was all, these are the 5 enablers that I wanted to share from my experiences, from my limited experience, because compared to the panelists, the co-panelists here, I think I'm the youngest, but some of the experiences have been so amazing, and I'm very grateful to the states where we are working with in the NCTE that helped us understand the nature of teacher education such deeply. I really think that some of these are helpful in your context and you will find it relevant. Thank you.
Thank you, Khushbu ji, for highlighting your experiences and motivating all of us with the enablers and the pointers, which could be replicated across all over the country in the SCERTs and DIETs. So now it's after the session. With the permission of Chair, may I ask to take up questions from the audiences?
Absolutely. So we are now on our allotted time is over. All that remains is your time. So we had allotted 30 minutes. We began 30 minutes late actually. So we had thought 30 minutes for audience. So please, we are willing to sit here for another 1 hour and do it at the end in the spirit of Tejasvina Avdhitastu. Hopefully we will get illumination. So please, anybody wants to say something or ask a question? It could be to any of the panelists specifically. Yes, that red shirt person in a cap there at the back. And it could be addressed to the entire panel or whichever way you want. Yeah.
Sir, my name is D.D. Pandey. I am from the Siddharth University. मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आपकी जो स्टेट मतलब एजुकेशनल सिस्टम है वहाँ पे एनसीईआरटी तो इम्प्लीमेंट कर दिया गया है, लेकिन एनसीईआरटी का जो रैशनलाइज सिलेबस है वो अभी इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहे हैं, तो वो उसे उन्होंने बस रैशनलाइज कर दिया है, लेकिन उसका जो इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक हैं वो इंटर रिलेटेड तो थे, लेकिन उसे जो रिक्वायरमेंट है वो फुलफिल नहीं होती। एक तो ये बात थी। दूसरा ये था कि जो इन्वायरमेंटल स्टडी का कोर्स है हम उसको इम्प्लीमेंट तो करते हैं, बहुत सारे कोर्स हैं, लेकिन हम उसको जैसे इन जनरल पढ़ते हैं, मतलब उस पर ना तो उनके पास लैब है ना ही वो हैंकी पैंकी पे ज़्यादा विश्वास करते हैं। तो हाउ आई कैन इम्प्रूव थ्रू द NEP to our experimental things in which more and more skills are required. Particularly in the SCERT, in the context of the SCERT, maybe most of the universities are doing such kind of things, but I belong to the SCERT university, so that is why I am very much concerned about it.
Do you want to say something? I presume आप सवाल नहीं पूछ रहे हैं, आप एक गलती निकाल रहे हैं और ये भी कह रहे हैं, 2-3 अच्छे सुझाव भी दे रहे हैं।
नहीं, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि कैसे हम इसे वहाँ ओवरकम करें एज ए टीचर। जो मेरे अंदर का मोरल है कि मैं उस सिस्टम को कैसे टैकल करूँ कि मैं उसको सुधार दूँ और उस सिस्टम को बढ़िया कर दूँ विदाउट हार्मिंग आवरसेल्फ एंड हार्मिंग अदर पर्सन।
मैं सच में मैं इस प्रश्न की तलाश में था और ये जो कुछ पैनलिस्ट बोल रहे हैं लगभग आके वहीं खड़ा हो जाता और ये वहीं आ जाता जहां हम शुरू में थे, जब मैं बोल रहा था कि मैं बेचारा क्या करूं, ये भी लाद दिया मेरे पे, ये भी लाद दिया, वो भी लाद दिया, वो भी लाद दिया। मैं कक्षा में हूँ, 40 वो हैं, तो नो वंडर मैं वैसे करता हूँ जैसे प्रोफेसर अरोड़ा कह रहे थे कि भाड़ में जाए, इनके 40 मिनट हमने पढ़ा दिया, उसके बाद बता देंगे भैया ये तो हुआ आ गया, आगे असली बात समझ लो क्या। ठीक है ना? तो मैं उत्तर दूंगा पूरी मैं ईमानदारी से उत्तर दूंगा और सच कहता हूँ, अपनी पूरी ताकत लगा दूंगा कि आप कहें कि मैं समझ गया कि मैं कैसे बेहतर EVS पढ़ा सकता हूँ जबकि कोई लैब नहीं है। बिल्कुल। पर अभी रहने देते हैं, अभी और प्रश्न ले लेते हैं, इसका उत्तर समापन से पहले हो जाएगा। आप बैठे रहिए।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू जी। Thank you.
Kindly give your name and please be crisp.
Yes, I am Rashmita from NIPA, National Institute of Education Planning and Administration. What I was thinking, the role of SCERT and DIET, how to transform schooling to learning. That is the main focus of the whole process, the discourse, education discourse. In that, what is missing in our research, even the international research and the Sala Siddhi school standards and evaluation, which is conducted by the Ministry of Education, that says we are actually missing in research and development. R&D is very, 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 very critical to transform schooling to learning. So that is missing in the SCERT and DIET. And apart from that, what is missing is in the state, the educational institution, they don't collaborate. In a sense, there are many universities also there, they don't collaborate. They work in silos, DIET and SCERT. If they work in tandem with other universities, institutions, they will get lots of actual alternatives are available to us. So we can use technology, we can use other forums into account to strengthen our SCERT and DIETs. Actually, 10 years back, the SCERT and... Yeah, that is my addition, the research and development and taking to community and collaboration with other educational institutions.
बिल्कुल, आपने 5-6 बहुत अच्छे सुझाव भी दे दिए हैं, पर प्रश्न एक ही है उसमें, वो हो गया कि हाउ टू कोलैबोरेट, कि होता नहीं है कोलैबोरेशन, तो कैसे करें। जी बैठिए।
There should be some kind of strategic planning at the SCERT level.
जी, thank you. Sure. Let's run with the questions, then you answer this. Yes. डॉक्टर रेबिन कह रहे हैं कि आपके प्रश्न का वो उत्तर देंगे। जी सर, यू नीड अ माइक। Anybody else who after him wants to? Okay, somebody. The mic is now needed at the back. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected panelists. I'm Kenny Lo from Nagaland. I just want to ask one question. Like to have a good linkage and a strong linkage with the other, department or the like BITE, clusters and the schools. But to do that, I think we also need motivation. That is appointment of faculty lectures, DIET lectures. I don't know in other state, but like in our state, Nagaland, as of now, the nature of appointment is co-terminus, which means every year the lectures has to go for, the continuation of service. So I just want to know, what is the nature of appointment in other state in India? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, please.
Namaste, sir. My name is Ganesh. I'm working with NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation. So, शिक्षा की जब भी बात होती है तो ड्रॉप आउट एक समस्या जो है, ग्रॉस एनरोलमेंट रेशियो हम देखते हैं. तो इज़ देयर एनी सिस्टम टू टैप, बिकॉज नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी गिव्स द वेरियस पॉजिटिव डायरेक्शंस, वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग, एजुकेशन. मुझे पढ़ाई में बिल्कुल इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, लेकिन मैं कुछ काम करना चाहता हूँ, स्किल लेना चाहता हूँ. तो क्या ये ऐसे माइंड्स को टैप या सेग्रीगेट करने की कुछ बात है कि, और या काम हो रहा है, या कोई अच्छे मॉडल्स है? नान मुदगलम जैसी तमिलनाडु की स्कीम है जो मेंटरशिप पे फोकस करती है. तो क्योंकि कहीं कहीं काउंसलिंग और साइकोमेट्रिक एनालिसिस से हमें डायरेक्शन पता लगना चाहिए, जिसमें रुचि है उसको, उसके लिए क्या हो रहा है, ये जानना चाह रहा था मैं.
थैंक यू फॉर द ग्रेट क्वेश्चन. थैंक यू जी. एक माइक इधर भी चाहिए, और किन्हीं को माइक चाहिए सवाल पूछने के लिए या कमेंट करने के लिए या सजेशन देने के लिए? You may kindly raise your hands now if you want to ask a question. The mic will reach. Otherwise, we'll presume that this is the last question. Thank you.
सभी को जोहार. मेरा नाम बिहार गौरव है और मैं JCRT झारखंड से हूँ. सर, मेरा एक तो क्वेरी है और दूसरा जो है वो प्रश्न ये है कि जैसा सभी पैनलिस्ट ने बताया कि NEP 2020 का जो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन है उसमें की रोल जो है वो SCERT का और डाइट्स का है, और हमारी जो पॉलिसीज़ हैं उसमें भी ये डिफ़ाइन है कि SCERT है, डाइट है, बाइट है और CRC क्लस्टर लेवल है. तो हमारे सिस्टम में जिनके पास अनुभव है, चूँकि पॉलिसी मेकर भी यहीं पे हैं, एजुकेशनिस्ट भी यहीं पे हैं, तो जिनके पास अनुभव है ऑलरेडी 5 years 10 years, तो हमारे पास अगर समग्र में पोस्ट ऑलरेडी डिसाइडेड है कि 15 है, 25 है, 30 है. इवन हमारे स्टेट में टीचर्स की नियुक्ति या ऑल ओवर इंडिया में टीचर्स की नियुक्ति जो है वो कभी भी फुलफ़िल नहीं हो सकती है. तो क्यों नहीं हम स्कूल एजुकेशन सिस्टम में, चूँकि उसी से रिलेवेंट चीज़ें हम NEP 2020 में हम इम्प्लीमेंट भी कर रहे हैं, तो वो जो पोस्ट है उसको हम फुलफ़िल करने के लिए ऐसी क्राइटेरिया क्यों नहीं बना सकते हैं या कर सकते हैं कि जो हमारे सिस्टम में जो टीचर्स हैं सब्जेक्ट स्पेसिफिक, वो चाहे क्लस्टर लेवल पे हो या फिर ब्लॉक लेवल पे हो या डाइट लेवल पे हो या SCERT लेवल पे हो, वो वैकेंसी वाला पार्ट जो है वो फुलफ़िल रहे, ताकि जो हमारे नीतिगत निर्णय हैं उन चीज़ों को हम टाइम बाउंड में फुलफ़िल कर सकें. क्या ऐसा हम लोग मिनिस्ट्री से या फिर NCERT से, जहाँ से भी ये चीज़ें हो सके, क्योंकि टीचर में मान लीजिए 5000 रिक्तियाँ हैं, 100 और अगर हो जाएंगी, लेकिन हमारा वो पार्ट जो है वो हमेशा स्ट्रेंथन रहेगा, जिससे कि हमारे स्टेट में अगर 3000 टीचर ही अगर हैं तो उनको तो मैसेज सर्कुलेट होगा, उन्हें जो नॉलेज देनी है वो हम टाइम बाउंड में कर पाएंगे. जी सर.
थैंक यू जी. और कोई प्रश्न? एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? या माइक इज नीडेड देयर. Okay, it's a repeat offer. Anybody else wants to ask a question? Please
Good
raise
evening,
your
sir.
hands. By the time he finishes, we will come over to you.
Good evening, sir. Yeah. I am a principal Kendriya Vidyalaya Air Force Station Bhavana. My name is Subhash Chandra. My question is related to my students, not related to the teachers who are from the DIET or SCERT. Always we wait. Our students will raise the questions in the classroom, but always we fail, because today in the morning Prime Minister sir also developed this type of attitude among the students so that after 25 years we can create a good scientist. If they are not raising the question, how they can be a good scientist or good businessman? Thank you.
थैंक यू। नहीं, पर सवाल क्या हुआ कि वो तो आपने कहा कि वो तो हमेशा सवाल पूछते हैं, हमसे जवाब देते नहीं बनता।
How we can create questions in the mind of the students?
हाँ, okay.
How they can develop after chapter? How can they develop the question in their mind?
Okay, I got it.
To ask the question to the teacher.
मैं समझ गया।
They are not asking.
मैं समझ गया जी, मैं समझ गया। आपका नाम भूल गया, आप केंद्रीय वित्त सुभाष जी, सुभाष जी, थैंक यू। आप लोगों के सवाल ऐसे हैं कि मेरे को लगता है मुझे एक सप्ताह की लेक्चर सीरीज करनी पड़ेगी हर एक का सही से जवाब देने के लिए, पर मैं दूंगा सबका फिर भी। पर सबसे पहले रैबिन जी को देता हूँ, उसके बाद खुशबू जी को देता हूँ, उसके बाद पंकज अरोड़ा जी को देता हूँ। किसी भी सवाल पे कमेंट करना चाहें, जवाब में कुछ कहना चाहें तो प्लीज़। I think one particular question you were interested in was the university collaboration, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I mean, one Nipa madam was asking about collaboration needs to be done. I mean, her comment was about the collaboration needs to be done, and the SCERT and DIET has to do the research. There is definitely no doubt about that. SCERT's mandate is to do research related to the education. I mean, I didn't mention in my, yes, SCERTs, many SCERTs are doing that. For example, if I can give you my own case study, like SCERT Sikkim does have a very good, strong culture of research. We not only do research, we fund research for SCERT faculty members and also DIETs. And to share their results, we also organize annually teacher educators conference. And then those papers presented on those teacher educators conference, we publish as a compendium, and we have got that ISBN number, and now a thing is also going on. So there are culture of research in SCERT. The next was, being very brief, next is about the collaboration. Yes, again, the answer is yes, SCERTs do collaboration. Like for an example, I said textbook thing we did with Azim Premji University and MJIP. The next thing was, like, there are many. We wanted to do something about mental health of children, because Sikkim has got many problems related to the mental health in the adolescents. So we wanted to collaborate with somebody, but again, as I said, the national institutions will look forward, NCERT, NIPA, I mean, we don't get such long-term engagement with them. So we found that TIS is doing that. So we collaborate with TIS. Last 2-3 years we are working with them. Tata Institute of Social Science, you know. Then there are other many instances where we have collaborated with different universities. We do that. That's what I mentioned in the thing. SCERT has to have that skill of collaborating with different universities, and we have successfully done that. And research part, yes, we have actually established our compendium of research papers, which are published, we share with all national libraries, and then we have been given ISBN number for that. And all of our research papers and abstract have been uploaded into NCERT's repository of researchers that done there. So it's not that SCERT is not doing that. They are doing that. There are many SCERTs which are doing that. The next was, I think that was specifically the one. The one was about the vocational education. Again, vocational education, somebody asked about that, like what can be done for those students who don't want to come to a regular class, but they want to do some vocation. Like again, I will give you the example of Sikkim, state of Sikkim. We have established State Institute of Capacity Building, especially for those children who has the tendency of dropping out of the regular school, who wants to do some vocational classes. For them, the institute called State Institute of Capacity Building is there. At one point of that time, there were also schools of livelihood schools who wanted to do other courses. So such mechanism can always be thought about, and that can be done. And lastly, for dropouts, even in the new education policy, there is a special chapter on out-of-school children, and there is a provision in Samagra Shiksha to map them, to survey them, and try to get them back to the mainstream of the schools. And Samagra Shiksha also funds such tasks very sufficiently. They fund that. So there are mechanisms already in place for addressing such things. That's I just wanted to mention that. These are the 2 points.
Thank you, Dr. Rabin. You have handled 2 questions, one from Ganesh. Okay, you're satisfied. And our sister from Nipa. Ji, thank you. Khushbu ji, please. I'm sure there are lots of questions about motivation and inspiration. You were so inspiring in your talk, so why don't you handle those?
I would love to answer the last question, which was about how do you make students ask questions inside the classroom, sir. I mean, this is a very rare question because usually teachers who I interact with, they always say, "बच्चे बहुत question पूछते हैं class में." So I think what has, again, from my experience, what I've observed is, if you want somebody to show certain behavior or start behaving in a certain way, first teachers in the classroom should start changing their own behavior, how they engage students. Are teachers leading with question? In any, I'm working on this national mentoring mission, and I'm fortunate to be the part of the National Working Committee, where we started with this question that who is a great mentor? A mentor is not one who gives answer, but who leads with question, who asks interesting question that will lead the mentee in the direction of answer. So can our teachers inside the classroom start by asking questions? Then automatically students will start asking more questions because they learn, they imitate. As human beings, we tend to imitate each other. So, I mean, that would be my response to your question.
Thank you. And now, Dr. Arora, would you like to take the question in particular of our brother from Nagaland about what is the status of lecturer positions in diets, whether they're contractual or elsewhere in the country? Or any other question that you wish?
Yes, sir. Thank you. मैं भी सुभाष जी के क्वेश्चन का ऐड करना चाहूँगा कि स्टूडेंट्स, आप ही का क्वेश्चन था शायद, स्टूडेंट्स क्वेश्चन क्यों नहीं पूछते? बहुत अच्छा.
I promised you a lecture series in one. जब मैंने कहा वो इसी वजह से किया था. But I'll try and take care of that. Don't worry.
आपने अपने क्वेश्चन को क्वालिफाई करने के लिए जो एग्जाम्पल दिया, उसी में आपका आंसर है. एप्पल नीचे क्यों गिरा और बैलून उड़ता है, फिर गैस खत्म होने पे नीचे क्यों आता है? व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड, आज का जो यूथ है वो बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस पूछता है. इतने सारे क्वेश्चंस पूछता है कि हम एज पेरेंट्स, एज रिस्पॉन्सिबल एडल्ट्स इन सोसाइटी, वी डू नॉट हैव आंसर्स टू देयर क्वेश्चंस. उनके क्वेश्चंस हर डोमेन में हैं, पर्सनल डोमेन में, स्पिरिचुअल डोमेन में, इमोशनल डोमेन में. एंड वी एडल्ट्स आर नीदर प्रिपेयर्ड नॉर हैव सम आंसर्स टू देयर क्वेरीज विच आर साइंटिफिक, which are with rational. My own son, who is now 26, but he kept asking me, the moment I start answering, he say, emotional card mat khelo, give me a rational answer. I am asking you something which where I want a scientific answer, and not a गोल गोल परंपरा की बात या घर की बात या आपका वैल्यू या मेगा वैल्यू कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, वो सब नहीं चाहिए. रैशनैलिटी से बात करो. What I am trying to say is, भगवान कहाँ है, भगवान किसने देखा है, भगवान है तो वो फिर हमें दुख क्यों दे रहा है? जब बच्चे ऐसे क्वेश्चंस करते हैं तो क्योंकि हमने रिलीजन को, स्पिरिचुअलिटी को एक्सपीरियंस नहीं किया, सुपरफिशियली जाना, तो हम उनके आंसर्स नहीं दे पाते. उनके सामने अक्सर एज पेरेंट, कम से कम मैं तो फेल होता हूँ, अपने यूनिवर्सिटी स्टूडेंट्स के सामने भी और अपने पर्सनल लाइफ में भी. मुझे लगता है कि बच्चों के क्वेश्चंस के आंसर्स देने के लिए हम तैयार नहीं हैं, इसलिए हम अवॉइड करते हैं कि वो क्वेश्चंस ना पूछें. अदरवाइज क्रिटिकल पेडागॉजी गिव्स अस मल्टीपल अपॉर्चुनिटीज दैट वी शुड एनकरेज लर्नर्स टू आस्क क्वेश्चंस. लेकिन हम क्रिटिकल पेडागॉजी बेस्ड लेसन्स बनाते ही नहीं, क्योंकि उसमें क्वेश्चंस की बाढ़ आती है. ये मेरा इसमें ये कहना है. दूसरा जो एक पॉइंट आया था कि यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के कोलैबोरेशन का, या जो नीपा की प्रोफेसर ने पूछा, सी मैंने अपने प्रेजेंटेशन के स्टार्टिंग में कहा था दैट पॉलिसी का काम होता है विजन देना और प्रोविजंस देना. अब उन प्रोविजंस को इम्प्लीमेंट करना एक कलेक्टिव रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, स्टेट मशीनरी की, इंस्टीट्यूशंस की, सोसाइटी की कलेक्टिव रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. अगर हम सिर्फ गवर्नमेंट की वेट करेंगे कि गवर्नमेंट से डायरेक्टिव आएगा, मैंडेट आएगा, प्लान ऑफ एक्शन आएगा तो हम चलेंगे, तो इसका मतलब हम अपनी एटॉनमी सरेंडर करने के लिए तैयार हैं. इसमें एक ये मैसेज छुपा हुआ है. आजकल बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस में बहुत सारे लोगों को ये कल्चर बन गया है कि वी डू नॉट वांट टू टेक इनिशिएटिव्स एंड वी वेट फॉर द डायरेक्टिव्स टू कम. सर का एक्सपीरियंस इसमें ज़्यादा अच्छा होगा. डायरेक्टिव के ऊपर हम एक्ट करते हैं, एक्शन के ऊपर हम रिएक्ट करते हैं. हम ओरिजिनल थिंकिंग, ओरिजिनल एक्शंस, इनोवेशंस की बात ही नहीं करते. प्रॉब्लम सबको पता होती है, प्रॉब्लम का सोल्यूशन हम तब करना चाहते हैं जब हम बाहर से कहीं से पुश आता है. मॉर्निंग में यूजीसी चेयरमैन 2 यूनिवर्सिटीज़ को समझा रहे थे दैट इफ़ यू वांट टू कोलैबोरेट, X university is willing to collaborate with Y university. Where is the role of UGC? Why you want a regulation from UGC? Where is UGC come in between the picture? You want to value credit from X university to Y university. 2 of you should sign a MOU and go ahead. Where is the role of UGC? Why you want UGC or any other government agency to come in between? मैं अपनी बात को लास्ट में ये कह के क्लोज करना चाहता हूँ कि पोटेंशियल यंग बच्चों में भी है, डाइट में भी है, SCERT में भी है और इस हॉल में बैठे हुए हम सब में है. इस एग्जाम्पल को मैं इस बात को मैं एक एग्जाम्पल से क्वालिफाई करूँगा. 1945 में जब सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर के बाद देयर वाज अ डिस्कशन ऑन इंडिया इंडिपेंडेंस एक्ट 1947 जब शुरू हुआ था तो मिस्टर एटली प्राइम मिनिस्टर थे. उस टाइम ब्रिटेन में पावर चेंज हुआ था. तो चर्चिल ने पावर एटली को कहा था कि यू आर थिंकिंग ऑफ ग्रांटिंग डेमोक्रेसी एंड फ्रीडम टू इंडिया, दिस वुड बी द बिगेस्ट ब्लंडर यू आर प्लानिंग. आज 75 ईयर्स के बाद वी हैव प्रूवन चर्चिल रॉन्ग दैट वी आर नॉट ओनली कैपेबल ऑफ मैनेजिंग लार्जेस्ट डेमोक्रेसी ऑफ द वर्ल्ड बट ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द वेरी सक्सेसफुल डेमोक्रेसी ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. आज 75 ईयर्स के बाद हम ना सिर्फ इंडिया को लीड कर रहे हैं बल्कि हमारे 4-5 इंडियन नेशनल्स 4-5 कंट्रीज को हेड कर रहे हैं इंक्लूडिंग चर्चिल्स ब्रिटेन इटसेल्फ. तो अगर इतना एम्पावरमेंट, इतना कैपेबिलिटी हमारे अंदर है, जस्ट वी नीड टू बिगिन, जस्ट वी नीड टू स्टार्ट. जैसे कहते हैं ना, कौन कहता है कि आसमान में छेद नहीं होता, एक पत्थर तो तबीयत से उछालो यार. तो एफर्ट अगर हमारा होता है तो गवर्नमेंट एजेंसी, कोलैबोरेटर, पॉलिसी सब सपोर्टिव हो जाते हैं. और एफर्ट नहीं होता तो एक्सक्यूजेस का अंत नहीं होता. थैंक यू.
Thank you for that inspiring recitation of Dushyant's couplet. Any questions? Anybody who's not satisfied? Then can I ask 5 questions? So what is anybody can speak, anybody can answer. What is your one takeaway from the presentation of Khushbu and her answers? One sentence, one phrase which she spoke, which you will want our rapporteurs not to miss when they write the report. Are they around? Yeah. So anybody? पूरी चर्चा के दौरान एक वाक्य, आधा वाक्य, कुछ फिक्रा, कुछ शब्द जो खुशबू जी ने बोले और आपको लगता है कि वो रिपोर्ट में ज़रूर आना चाहिए. बहुत कुछ हुआ, बहुत सुझाव हुआ. हाँ जी, वाह, वो उन्होंने कहा. और कोई? आप रेपोर्टियर तो नहीं है ना? आप रेपोर्टियर खुद तो नहीं है ना? हाँ, ठीक है, बताइए, फिर बताइए. और दूसरा? नहीं, वो हाँ, ठीक है. गुड. नहीं, वो तो सब ठीक है सलोनी जी. मुझे अपना टीए बिल तो नहीं पास करवाना ना आपने उनसे अभी. बैठिए आप. बैठिए जी. और कुछ और? एनीबडी एल्स वांट्स टू अंडरस्कोर एनीथिंग सलोनी जी सेड? या. अच्छा जी, आप. वेरी गुड. बहुत अच्छे. Or anything Professor Arora said which anybody would like to say that they will not forget, they'll remember and it was a good thing. Or the जी माइक्रो इम्प्रूवमेंट वो उनका था जी बहुत अच्छा. Anything
Back to basics and going with the requirements.
right. And I will also highlight one thing she said. I'll add on to it. But anything Dr. Rabin said, yes, which you will not forget, like to take forward. I must thank you for making two very concrete suggestions, which are not long-term also, that as part of whatever, इतना बड़ा complex policy, इतने complex environment में operate हो रहा, तो वो जो chief secretaries का conference होता है, जिसमें इसको review होता है, PM लेते हैं उसमें, तो all these things, how strong and what quality of BRCs and diets and the SCERTs, that's a very profound, good suggestion. I'll also like to endorse your suggestion on SSA के चलते वो इन सर्विस टीचर ट्रेनिंग का जो कंपोनेंट है SCERT का वो ख़त्म सा हो गया, कहीं और घुस गया, उसको कैसे ठीक करना. बट जिन्होंने सवाल पूछे वो भी भाग गए. नहीं, आप हैं. The Nagaland question is not answered still. So, Dr. Arora, you will like to answer his question? Otherwise, I will take my call. No, he asked a factual question. Okay, okay, I'll answer that. Yes, sir, आप कुछ कह रहे थे.
ADP में उसका जो solution है, from DAC to school managing committee, यानी DAC, SCERT, BO, SMC, SCMC, SMC, इसका ये पूरा administrative, operating authority, financial management, इसका जो समाधान दिया है,
Okay, thank you. So I'll take less than 5 minutes, I hope, and I promise. And I think before I give it to her to conclude, you have conducted it very well. Thank you very much. I will like you to. I'm trying to answer all the remaining questions and doubts. And he has complained that I have not answered my original question. So I'll try to do it now by asking you to look at a slide. It is a lift out, random lift out from a state textbook. In fact, from an NCERT textbook. And it is page 55 of the 3rd grade maths textbook, and it's a question. I want you to read it. I want you to look at it. It asks about 3-4 questions. Subhash ji, you in particular, I want you to focus on that question. You must be teaching it in the class. Okay, and that will set the background for the answer to the unanswered question. But on the Nagaland, that's why I did not want to get into it, sir. The problem is you may create 100 posts for diet, but the diet principal will never be able to fill them up. Whether they are on contractual basis or what basis. Some other agency of the government will fill up. And they'll follow some process. So you will never have a situation when 100% posts are filled of any cadre anywhere. And then there'll be people whom you want to throw out, but they have obtained stay orders from the court. Because once they are in. So let's not debate that. Let's, in the spirit of what was said by Dushanji, look at this. This is an actual print. Read it. Think about these questions. Imagine you are a 3rd grader. Or if that's hard to imagine, imagine it's your child. And he gets this textbook and he gets this. What does he do? Please try to answer these questions. Think about them. Sorry?
Anything in integration here, like observation and analyzing, calculations, mapping, knowing about the place, neighborhood, monument, river, important places,
No, it's okay. Don't say so much. Don't say so much. Imagine you're a third grader, or imagine your child is reading it, or your student is reading it. Just read it. Just look at it. What do you expect? Let's have a classroom where the teacher doesn't say anything. He says, just read it. Subhaji, you think any of your students will ask a question? I hope the teacher gets 10 minutes to do this. He has a 40 minutes class. This is half the chapter, 1/4 of the chapter. I am a third grader. I say, now look at the distances between these places. For kilometers, we write km, Agra Kent railway station to Taj Mahal, 5 kilometers. Taj Mahal to Agra Fort, 2 kilometers. Agra Fort to Fatehpur Sikri, 40 kilometers. Now find from the map, okay, which is farther from Agra Kent. You expect a question to come? Let this be, oh, sorry, okay. Okay, you don't expect a question from a third grader. Okay, let's assume this is being taught in a diet in a teacher training course. Do we expect a question? In a diet, training is going on and this is being taught to third graders, teachers who teach third graders. Do you expect a teacher to ask something? What? Yes, sir. नहीं वो सब तो सही है. पहले तो मेरी गलती मैं खा रहा हूँ. ये ग्रेड 5 की एनसीईआरटी टेक्स्ट बुक है, ग्रेड 3 के लिए. नहीं. No, just look at it. Just look at it. In fact, somehow it is missing in the picture when I saw it in an actual textbook only 3 days ago. Just like that. And just open the textbook randomly, kahin kholne ke liye, to prove some other point. And this page opened up. There is also on the end of this page, there is a scale. Scale bana hua hai. Probably the student has the scale also. So he's supposed to measure and things. What I want to say is, जो Professor Arora ने बोला था, I am answering that person's question who has gone. जो इन्होंने बोला था, इन्होंने कहा था कि किसी टीचर ने बोला या इनके टीचर ने बोला कि बेस्ट ऑफ टेक्स्ट बुक को टीचर तबाह कर सकता है. मैं उसके ऑपोजिशन में खड़ा होकर कह रहा हूं कि वर्स्ट ऑफ टेक्स्ट बुक को टीचर ऐसा कर सकता है क्लासरूम में 40 मिनट्स में सहवीर्यम करवा वही करते हुए कि वो गिफ्टेड चाइल्ड भी ढूंढ सकता है. ठीक है जी. और वो अपना जो बेसिक सबको करवाने के लिए लिखा है कि सब बच्चे को देना, वो भी कर सकता है. When I looked at it as a third grader, or even as I know some maths, so my first thing is, मैं तो यहीं उखड़ गया था. I was stuck here. Please look at it. Taj Mahal to Agra Fort. What is this red dot? What are these red dots in this picture? What are, कुछ तो नाम लिखे, फोटो बनाए. What are these red dots? Probably NCERT wants, whoever wrote it, he wants to convey that you can never measure distance from, Agra Kent railway station till you come to a point. So do not assume that you have to measure distance from here. Don't worry about all these questions which come in your head. Look at this red dot. And this is Agra Kent.
Okay, and where is Taj Mahal then? Then Taj Mahal is here. And do not worry about yahan tak maapna hai, wahan tak maapna hai. Okay, in any case it is a 2D picture of a 3D life thing. But where is Agra Fort? No, but that red dot is not there. That red dot is not there. It's a simple mistake. Nobody is responsible for it. Nobody has intentionally done it. Nobody should be charge sheeted for it. But the damn fact is that it is a massive mistake. I refuse to believe that in a 5th grade class, if even one student is not pointing this out, the teacher may never notice. But I refuse to believe anywhere in the world, world's biggest democracy or world's, whatever. Faced with this situation, a 5th grader is supposed to, at least the question will arise in his head. The moment you are talking about dots, that if these dots have any importance, and if you answered the whole thing and you taught the whole thing without referring to the dot, कर दिया ये 5 है, ये 2 है, वो 7 है, वो इधर है, वो बड़ा हो गया, छोटा हो गया, आगे बढ़ो भाई, आगे बढ़ो, पेपर में भी सवाल आ गया, वो इतना हो गया, वो उतना हो गया. But if the kid never asked, there is something wrong in the classroom. वो जिसकी वजह डॉक्टर अरोड़ा बता रहे थे, खुशबू जी भी कुछ गेस कर रही थी कि क्यों हो जाता है ऐसा, कि क्यों नहीं सवाल पूछते. और यहाँ पे दिस इज टीचर्स फर्स्ट फेस विद कि किताब में गलती है, डॉट नहीं है. This kind of an input should come into the diet sometime, to the SCERT sometime. And this cannot keep on be printed for 10 years, one after the other, and this remains there. Then there is something seriously wrong. You don't need any budget for it. You don't need any posts for it. You do not need any collaboration with anybody. All you need is a classroom, an actual teacher, an actual textbook, an actual student, and tejasvina vadhitamastu sahviryam karvavahi. And a curious and a humbleness on the part of the humility on the part of the teacher to say, yes, maybe I don't know the answer. Maybe I do not know why they have not put the dot. Maybe let's put the dot somewhere now. कि चलो इसको यहाँ कहीं लगा लेते हैं और फिर फुटा लेके मापते. And then, by the way, sir, I am answering your question now. Even if all this is fine, even if the dot is there, this is 5th grade. Which of these is nearer to the railway line? To a 5th grader, you have just taught me that distance is between 2 points, and I can put a meter scale and figure out the distance. But now you are asking me a question that how do I measure how far is this point from a line? That's a much later concept. Distance between a point and a line. Then the rectilinear distance, the perpendicular, and all that. But, if you are worried that what is the question I'm talking about, he was inciting me about how to find your Ramanujams. If your Ramanujam is sitting in the class, potentially he is a kind of a student who either never asks a question. I have tried to read a couple of biographies of Ramanujam. It is never pointed out. About Einstein, certainly you can say this. If Einstein in 5th grade were reading this, he would have noticed this all. But he would have never uttered a word. He never uttered a word till his 10th in the class. So much so that the teachers had to go and complain to his
Parents, they take him away. He's no good. Right? But yet at the same time, another genius like R.P. Feynman, right? He would have pestered the teacher. He would have pestered the teacher on this by saying, if this is 5, then this cannot be 2, wherever you put Agra Fort dot. A gifted kid like R.P. Feynman in 5th, faced with this, would say, no matter where you put Agra Fort dot, no matter where you put it in this diagram, my dear sir, if Taj Mahal to Agra Fort is 2 kilometers, you cannot have Agra Can to this 5, because he knows the scale. Because this you have fixed. And now to be able to do 2 kilometers, you know, you will have a problem. You will be coming bang into the river Yamuna most of the time. Or things like that. Or things like that. मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ, मैं गणित की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ. मैं वापस आ रहा हूँ कि कक्षा में ऐसा मान लिया जाता है टीचर द्वारा कि किताब तो भगवान ने लिखी है. NCERT, SCERT, whoever. और वो सब सही है. अगर कुछ गलत भी है तो चुप रहो, पढ़ा के निकलो. और ये बच्चे द्वारा ये मान लिया जाता है कि ये जो पढ़ा रहे श्रीमान जी ये भगवान है, तो इनसे तू तड़ाक मत करो, इनसे ज़्यादा वो ना करें. तो सहवीर्यम करवा वही तब है जब इन दोनों चीज़ों पे चैलेंज की सिचुएशन हो. वेरी इजी, कोई मैं फिलॉसफी नहीं कह रहा हूँ. ऑल वी नीड टू डू इज, वी हैव सम वेरी गिफ्टेड टीचर्स जो उन्हीं क्लासेस में पढ़ा रहे हैं. आई एम नॉट अंडरमाइनिंग एनी टीचर, बट वी नीड टू रिस्पेक्ट देम एंड यूज देम एज not enforcers of the policy prescription. Yes, that's all there. But also as a feedback mechanism. और जो कोलैबोरेशन की बात पे है उसका मेरा 2 पैसे का सिर्फ इतना कहना है. जो आपकी समस्या है ना किसी भी इंस्टीट्यूशन में, वो किसी दूसरे इंस्टीट्यूशन की समस्या का हल है. प्लीज, collaboration is very easy. I feel a problem in an institution. I go to another institution, and sometimes what happens is my exact problem is actually a solution for their problem. ऐसे अच्छा लाओ ना हम कर देते हैं. You want examples of it? She'll give you very many. And I'm changing her statement now. She said, experts are many. You remember Khushbu ji? She said experts की कमी नहीं है. Experts are many. I would like to add, experts are many and they are free. आज के ज़माने में they are practically free. All you need to do is go to YouTube and say how to teach EVS without taking the kid outside the classroom. You will have some of the most brilliant ideas there. Right? So, therefore, if we are able to inspire our teachers and if we are able to build our institutions in this manner, from bottom upwards, and it is possible that the original problem, that we will not let even one day go waste in improving and implementing NEP in spirit, and not sit and wait till the budget comes or till this is set right or that is set right. वो जो अरोड़ा जी ने बोला उस पर कंक्लूड करते हैं. दुष्यंत का एग्जैक्ट शेर था, उस छेद नहीं था. कौन कहता है आसमां में सुराख हो नहीं सकता, एक पत्थर तो तबीयत से उछालो यारो. So you have done a big, great job, Professor Sharad. Thank you very much. This has been a real pleasure chairing this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Acha.
Sir, I don't have any question. I just need your guidance. Actually, I am a mentor teacher, and I generally go to different schools. So many days, roughly 15 days back, I met a child of 10 years. He said, I am preparing for UPSC.
Wow.
And he said he could speak on 27 topics. I said, on which topics you have the mastery? He said, ma'am, may I write? So he wrote 27 topics, and G20 was one of that. And I just want to help that child. I just want your guidance. How can I help, or how can our teacher?
Thank you. But he was in a government school?
Yes, sir. MCD school.
Lovely, lovely. थैंक यू, आपने मुझे कुछ याद करा दिया, मेरी ट्रेन ऑफ थॉट चल रही थी. तो एक तो ये कि गलतियां अपॉर्चुनिटी हैं. कहीं टेक्स्ट बुक की गलती है, दैट्स अ ग्रेट अपॉर्चुनिटी, इवन विद द मिस्टेक. तो एक तो ये काम सभी स्टेट्स वी कैन डू, दैट वी कैन एनकरेज आवर टीचर्स टू लुक फॉर मिस्टेक्स इन द टेक्स्ट बुक and then feed it back to DIET, SCERT, whoever. That's one. Second, in all the state assessment surveys that we will do now, right? So you will have multiple choice type questions, right? You will have the question paper printed. Somebody will evaluate. We'll do whatever we will do with that. I think because we can do one thing more, it is almost sure that whatever we may print, there might be some mistake in that. Leave scope for that. To err is human. In the paper at the end, even though it is multiple choice type, we should say, do you find any mistake in this question paper? Now this is not part of the formal evaluation for statistical purposes. But if you do, please point it out. Then further on say, even if there is no mistake, would you like to ask a tougher question? Okay? Create your tougher question here. Something. All this will feed into identification of gifted children later, which is not as part of the assessment survey, but for that. But for your person, which state is it you are talking about this kid?
Sir, 10 years.
No, which? It's in Delhi, in a government school.
Sir, basically he is from Patna,
Mm-hmm.
and 6 months back they came to Delhi.
Okay. So, Dhruv, you have read the Dhruv program details? I'll give you a copy. The Prime Minister's integrated, innovative learning program. So the first was, I think they held a session, I was not in India those days, 2 years ago. Somebody else would know, 400 or 500 such kids were identified. They were taken to Bhabha Atomic Research Center and for a winter workshop or a summer workshop, 1 month long or something. So you stay back, I'll give you a list of institutions and I'll give you some contacts therein where you can put this person in touch. ठीक है जी? Thank you for raising it. I'll answer it in person to you. मैं अभी आपको ढूंढ के दे देता हूँ एक लिस्ट. जी. मैं अभी दे रहा हूँ आपको.
Madam, we are already 1.5 hours late in the session. This session, thank you very much, sir. This session was with the theme Empowering the Institution and Strengthening Academic Linkages through SCERTs and DIETs. But it turned out the way that we were empowered by the knowledge of this panelist. And of course, some of our beliefs in teachers of the country, in the system of country, were strengthened. Some of the beliefs we thought turned out to be wrong also. So thank you very much, the panelist, the chairperson, Shri Rajesh Kullerji, Professor Pankaj Arora ji, Dr. Rabin Chetri ji, and Madam Khushbu Avasthi ji for giving your insights, valuable insights to this program and contributing to empowering the audiences with your views and insights. I also, there's a customary thing, and I would request Sri Sankarai ji from the Ministry of Education to kindly felicitate the panelist. And please join your hands together. So a small brief vote of thanks. I thank all the panelists, the chairperson, the esteemed panelists for giving valuable insights on the topic, on the theme, and keeping us enthralled for duration more than stipulated. And I also thank the officers here from the MOE, Madam Prachi Pandey, Sri Sankarai ji, and other officers from the ministry who have left no stone unturned to make this program possible. The team members of the MOE, the consultants, Sri Vamik ji, Sameer Daniel ji, Tara Mani ji, and forgive me if I am forgetting some names, I took the names. The reporters of the session, Professor Tanu Malik ji and Dr. Pushpalata ji, and all the eminent educationalists who took out time to come here, listen to this discussion. And yes, I'm sure you must have had a lot of takeaways from the session. Thank you very much.
A big vote of thank you for you.
Thank you, sir.